Thanks very much. Um, I'd like just to welcome the big crowd. This is the biggest crowd I've ever seen since being mayor here. So phenomenal, um, phenomenal attendance tonight. It's pretty good to see democracy at work. I'd like to call the regular council meeting for Monday, June 8th to order. Before I start, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen speaking people, represented today by the Kasepsan and Songhees nations. And we're grateful to work, play, and live in this special place. Item 2 is approval of the agenda. Uh, the item 9, which is the in-camera, is no longer required tonight, but I have replaced the new item with a new item 9, which is notices of motion by two of our councillors. May I have a mover and seconder to adopt today's agenda as amended? Thank you very much. Councillor Olson and Councillor Jordison, please. And call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Mayor's message. I've got a few things to announce tonight. I'd first like to advise the Colwood community that there will be a celebration of life for Langford Councillor Lillian Spock on Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m. at the Dogwood Auditorium at Royal Roads University. And all those who want to pay their respects to Lillian are welcome to pay their respects. Just want to talk quickly about the live music and dancing every Saturday night, sponsored by the City of Colwood from 5:30 to 7:30 in parks all around Colwood throughout the summer. This week they're at the Herm Williams Park with Groove Diggers plus Greek on the Street for dinner. The past Monday, June 1st, students from Royal Bay Secondary shared ideas on a wide range of topics at the Youth in Action event. Everything from transportation, transit, policing to volunteering, recreation, and mental health. It was a fun and interactive way to hear from youth on how the city and its partners can address the challenge they face and support their aspirations. You probably see some other activity going on our parks and playgrounds. There are upgrades underway around Colwood, starting with the playground upgrades at Herm Williams Park and Meadow Park, and the new washroom being built building at Quarry Park. There's with a lot more to come, all funded by the Growing Communities Fund. You can find out more information on the parks page of our city website. And lastly, a new park will be open to the public at the Beachlands this Saturday, June 13th. And Path Development's new pickleball rally courts are nearing completion as well. Okay, item 4, adoption and receipt of minutes. May I have a mover and seconder to adopt and receive the minutes on the recommendation, please? Councillor Grove and Councillor Olson. Call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. At this time, I'm going to open it up to public participation, and I see the Colwood Creek ratepayers. I know what you're here to talk about. I don't know if you know June 22nd is actually when it's on the agenda, just to let you know that. So you will have another opportunity if you miss tonight. There were 2 written submissions that were received prior to agenda publication, and they are attached to the agenda tonight. And 24 written submissions were received after agenda publication, and they'll be appended to the agenda following tonight's meeting. In addition, they will be available on the city's website tomorrow. I'd like to thank the public. I actually had a chance to read all the written submissions. I'd like to thank you very much for your submissions and very thoughtful. And I don't think anyone was, or no one was registered to speak virtually. At this point in time, and unfortunately, we keep this to 20 minutes. So if you don't get your chance tonight, I can actually ask for an extension with council, or we can I certainly welcome you on the 22nd. Members of the public will now be allowed to present their concerns or ask questions. Alternately, you may wish to wait for the agenda item to be brought up and speak at that time. Can I just see a show of hands of the number of people that want to speak tonight? So we've got quite. Wow. So there's about 20 people here, right? How many did you count? 34 minutes. Well, I'll either go for the motion right now if we want to extend public participation tonight to 34 minutes. If someone wants to make the motion, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, second by Councillor Ward, and any opposed? Seeing none, we will extend our public participation. So you get 2 minutes. And for those that are new to this, you just come up, you push a button, le bouton, and you get 2 minutes. And you'll see a green light. There's um, a little device on the top. You can see the green light on it. When you have 30 seconds, it's right on the podium. When you have 30 seconds left, the yellow light will go on. And then when you're out of time, the red light will come on. So as soon as you see that yellow light, try to wrap it up as best you can, please. And I thought everybody came out tonight because I'm the new actor in Shogun. So I guess you guys aren't here to see me, eh? So anyways, at this point in time, I will open the floor up for the first person to come up and speak. Please.
Okay, my name is Colin McKinnon, and last year I purchased a new condo at 3564B, Ryder Hirschdale Way. I purchased that from PCR Group, which is now called PASS. And at that stage, when I purchased that, at the sales centre, they had a complete mock-up of what was going to be across the road. And that showed, and I was aware of the fact, that there could be 4 6-story buildings in that Part B block across the road. And I was okay with that because there was also a lot of green space. There was a laneway, there were parkways. And so consequently, and a lot of the other people in my building as well, 364B, considered that was a reasonable place. We now find that at the PLUC meeting on July the 6th, we're advised that PATH are seeking to put one more 6-story building on that place, right in the front of our building. Now, not only is that it's just ridiculous that we've got 3 6-story buildings on one side of the road, 4-story buildings where we are, but that extra building has taken away all the green space that we thought we had. And most of the people in my building really like this community. And so we're pretty upset about this. And so consequently, I just want to bring it to council's attention that we're going to be involved. We're not happy about this because we believe that this is a subsidiary of PATH, which is running this particular development, and yet it's not what we were promised when we bought those units. And so I'm just
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next.
Which button do I push?
Oh, you're hot.
Yeah.
You're up.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Hilary Mackey. I have lived on Antrobus Crescent across from the park for 20 years. I'm a retired master gardener and the president of Colwood Creek Ratepayers Association. We've submitted a petition with 145 signatures to City Hall, asking that this proposal be paused until there has been meaningful consultation with affected stakeholders. Colwood's official community plan, Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and Colwood Creek Management Plan all require consultation with stakeholders when significant change to land use is being planned. Yet, Most residents in Colwood Creek Estates did not learn of this plan until after it was published on Colwood's website around May 5th. At the May 14th meeting, the group calling itself Colwood Garden Society disclosed that approximately 50% of their membership lives in Langford. Our neighborhood has been blindsided by this development, especially since we were recently supplied with 3 diagrams of proposed layouts. The two diagrams which relate to the Veterans Memorial Park part of the park with 133 beds and fencing show that the intention is to displace all other activities and users from our near neighborhood park. Replacing the usage of the park with this uncommonly large community garden transfers a public asset from a broadly accessible use to a specialized use by users from outside Colwood. We ask that this proposal be stopped until there's been meaningful consultation with the affected residents. If this proposal were challenged in court, we believe that we would be granted meaningful consultation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I just ask everyone to refrain from clapping, I know it's joyous news, but booing, clapping, it's not the decorum of City Hall for council meetings. Thank you very much for your patience and understanding. Sir, you turned yourself off there. Okay, there,
Yeah,
you're hot now.
Alrighty. My name's Brett Donaldson. I live at 777 Sunridge Valley Drive. As you can see, I'm a part of the ratepayers group. A couple things that I wanted to bring up. In terms of the Colwood Garden Society, I had a chance to look at their meeting minutes from their most recent meeting that was listed on their website as of March 2026. At the time of the meeting, they said they had 62 paying members and 30 were on a wait list. And then I took it as it was implied that there was 4 empty beds sitting here at City Hall. Now, with the proposed beds that are there, 60 in 1A, 73 in 1B, and 75 in Site 2, which doesn't make sense for Site 2, period, but the whole thing doesn't make sense. It just seems that we are designing for a projection of where this society sees the need being. When the city decides to build hospitals, schools, those designs are not done under projection. They're designed for current need. So why is this being designed for future projection? Also, a couple other things. Ultimately, the park needs to be left as ALR, in my mind. The main intent of ALR in that instance is to prevent against a mass extinction event. And what I mean by that is that if we have an event where the ability for us not to be able to produce food or go to the store or do anything like that, we need to be able to grow food and vegetable, but in a way where it can be mass produced. Individual garden beds don't facilitate that request. Ultimately, at the end of the day, there's already a black eye on this park from things that had transpired already with the original design that went through for the design of the dog park. And now we want to give the other eye a black eye. And I don't want to see that happen. I think the city council needs to focus on CRD and working on the dog park itself as opposed to ALR, switching it for gardens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
My name is Paul Peel. My wife and I have up in Mercury. We live at 734 McCann, and our property backs onto the park. I want to comment about the private property rights and how that the proposed community gardens bears on that. For most people, the greatest investment they will ever make is to acquire their home. To buy, to maintain, or to improve a house costs each of us many years of our lives. If we ever sell it, then it represents the lion's share of our life savings. If we stay forever, it's the biggest investment we'll ever make in the life we want. The reason we can devote so much time, energy, and resources to our home is because of the confidence we have that our home is ours. We are invited to assume that our home's value or our quiet enjoyment of our home is not subject to change, whimsical changes in public policy. If we buy a home adjacent to a public park with the covenant saying that the parkland will remain in it for 99 years, It appears we are protected by the law. We invest, we pay taxes for decades. My wife bought this property in 1984, so she's been paying taxes here for a long time. We build lives, communities based on that assurance, and I respect the rule of law. To remove the covenant protecting the park and to introduce novel semi-industrial repurposing of the property should be, at the very least, only proceed if those residents most directly affected overwhelmingly support such an undertaking. But it appears that public consultation has been rather thin on the ground. Everyone I've spoken with only became aware of this huge shift in the values and enjoyment of their homes by rumor because of someone by chance saw workmen starting on it. I'd like to ask that if the council sees this project as necessary, that they build it in an area already devoted to semi-industrial purposes, such as extending the site here on this property. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Lawrence Surges of Enterbus Crescent near the proposed site of the community garden. I support community gardens, but not a proposal for 120 to 150 beds. You've heard about a small Langford garden on April 13th of 33 beds. Most are 4x4. Its 280 square meter footprint fits beautifully into Portrait Park near large residential buildings. Our OCP prioritizes exactly that type of community garden and pocket park location. In contrast, the proposal that we have could cover 2,508 square meters. For comparison, the gardens outside City Hall are about 651 square meters. The Colwood Garden Society proposal is much different, 108 to 152 beds, most 4x10, that would dominate a big area in Colwood Creek Park. Gardens in Langford, Esquimalt, and UVic don't allocate plots to outsiders, but 38 of 70 plots here are rented to non-residents. Were those plots available to our residents, no one from Colwood would be on a waiting list. But the society tells us there's a shortage of 25 beds. Whose shortage? Regardless, the 25 bed shortfall doesn't justify adding up to 152 spaces to our inventory. Please pause to consult the neighborhood, critically assess this project to focus on real Colwood needs. The size of garden must be proportionate to verified need, and the society must be guided by Colwood's needs to be the right partner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Tom? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Mark Ridson. I live at 3097 Brittany Drive. I'm here to approach Council with my concerns regarding the proposed Colwood Creek Community Garden. I was very surprised in April to learn of the Colwood Creek Community Garden. I only learned of the proposal by chance from two men at the back of my property who identified themselves from the Garden Society, looking how to convert park space into a community garden, plots, and maybe an orchard. I'm quite shocked and disappointed as a resident and neighbor to the park that I did not receive any direct communication or any opportunity for input for such a major neighborhood project. In the past, in a professional capacity, I've been involved in community gardens. The process ensured direct neighborhood notification, town hall meetings, surveys, consultation with all interested parties. I'm quite surprised and disappointed that the city of Colwood has not followed a similar process. Based on what I know about the garden project, I'm very surprised at the scale and location, especially the location. Community garden projects are typically in high density, multi-family dwelling areas to provide walkable outdoor green space and support food security. The Colwood Creek Community Garden Plan does not meet any of that criteria or the City of Colwood's official community plan. I'm not asking council to reject community gardens, as I know if implemented correctly and in the right location with community support, they can have a positive community benefit and outcome. However, I am asking council to pause the Colwood Creek proposal, undertake a thorough review as to whether the large-scale community garden at this location relates to the needs of residents of Colwood. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Janice Ritson. I live at 3097 Brittany Drive. I'm here to speak regarding the proposed community garden at Colwood Creek Park. I'm extremely upset that the residents of the Colwood Creek neighbourhood have not been consulted on the proposal of a large community garden being built to replace the current neighbourhood park. This will impede many people, families, dog walkers, nature lovers from accessing the shared, spacious, quiet, well-used green space of Colwood Creek Park that links community areas. Instead, the plan shows a highly densified, compact fenced area of garden plots, boxes, used by people travelling from outside the neighbourhood. I'm requesting council pause this proposal and engage in consultation to consider the impact such a large project would have on the residential area, the scale and placement be in keeping with the needs of the Colwood residents and the ratepayers of Colwood Creek Estates. To consider the loss of park space, the increased pedestrian safety. There are no sidewalks. Speed and stop signs are often not observed. Lacking parking for those transporting soil, tools, and accessing the area. Let alone the concerns relating to how the already large, flourishing rat population will be impacted by the increase of harbourage, composting, and food supply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Oh, you turned yourself off.
This is entirely different. Carol Brown with Scenic. Citizens Environment Network in Colwood comes to council this evening with a concern for potential loss of funding from the province in regard to their program referred to as Local Government Climate Action Program, or LGCAP. It used to be called CARIP, C-A-R-I-P. The BC Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions Service Plan for 2026 and 27 has noted they are planning to not renew the program. We ask Council to consider writing to the Ministry to confirm how important consistent LGAP funding is to Colwood and the ongoing programs that it promotes. If the city has already written to the province, as other municipalities have done, we thank you wholeheartedly. We very much need to keep Colwood's ability to have a strong climate preparedness and climate action strong and vigilant in the times ahead. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Carol. Next, please. Oh, you certainly can. I'll make note of that. Next, please. Yeah. I thought I saw someone get up. Are you speaking at 7.2 also? Okay. Okay. Anyone else, please? Going once, going twice. I'm going to close the public participation. I see no other hands. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. Is there any item that you wish to pull off the consent agenda? Councillor Day.
Thank you. Just that you speak to 2 items, but Committee of the Whole referred the Council Procedure Bylaw to the next Committee of the Whole. So is there not only one agenda items?
You're right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep. Thank you very much. There's only one thing on the consent agenda. We didn't get through our Committee of the Whole today, so we don't have our recommendations from our Committee of the Whole under 6.1. Seeing no other, may I have a motion, please, to accept the consent agenda? Thank you very much. Councillor Grove and Councillor Ward, please. Okay, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, it's unanimous. We'll move on to item 7, which is new business. 7.1, contract award, South Colwood Dog Park. Mr. Johnson, CEO, would you like to introduce this one?
Thank you, Mayor, members of Council. This is a contract award. The recommendation for Council's consideration is that Council authorize staff to award the contract for the construction of the South Creek Dog Park to Landscape Structures Incorporated through the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada in the amount of $344,766. And Ryan Campeau, our Parks Lead, is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thanks very much. There's no presentation, right, per se? No, we'll just I'll open up the floor to questions from Council. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first brought this forward as a motion well over a year ago, as South Colwood is overdue for somewhere for our furry friends to run around in an enclosed space. For those that don't know, some of the original proposals in Royal Bay spoke of a dog park as part of the Quarry Park project. That was removed some time ago. And since then, many residents in that area have been clamoring, I think is not an exaggeration, for a dog park. Colwood Creek, Stewart Dog area is quite far from that area, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. So I'm looking forward to this. Certainly, obviously, very much support it, but just questions for park staff through the chair, just around the planning. I think the Appendix A we have, which is the City of Vancouver implementation guide, really spells out how this can be managed and managed well. I think this is very commonplace. I've heard some comments that, this is maybe a smaller property than what could be expected, but I reminded folks that it's not a destination dog park. This is kind of a small regional dog park that dovetails in nicely with the current parks plan as well as the future parks plan for beachlands, and gives an opportunity to maybe remove some of the dogs that are currently encroaching in playground areas in Meadow Park and elsewhere. But I just wonder how we will mitigate some of the perceived issues that could arise from this. I know there's some in the report, but maybe we could speak briefly to, I think there's only 4 homes that abut the park, but I think we have to address their concerns, and just overall safety and things like that. So through the chair, I would just ask for Parks to maybe provide some overview.
Thank you for the question. So mainly it's going to be through providing a secondary fence inside the existing fence line that the residences have, which will provide a buffer area which can either maintain existing hedges. Some of them already have some hedges that are quite well established, or we can also, in discussion with the residents, plant hedge as well in that buffer space. So providing a visual break and also a spatial break in between their original fence and the dog park itself.
Great, thank you. And then just in terms of, it's a reality, dogs, they do their business, and there's an expectation obviously for owner accountability. So I know we've got bag stations and things, but they urinate as well. Is there any kind of odor control measures or anything we can take that, I'd say hypothetically, if there is an issue that we deal with?
I mean, other than we're using a 5R, which is the playground wood chips, and it's just basically nature, rain and whatnot, and regular topping up of the material on probably a 3 to 4 year basis. But other than that, that's all we're doing here.
Thank you. No, those are the only questions that I had really. I think at the end of the day, the engagement results showed that, of those surveyed, almost 70% were supportive. Certainly I see it anecdotally and as a resident in that area, there's a significant amount of support. So I will unequivocally be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Jordison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question. I'm just wondering if the residents, there's so few of them, if by chance somebody from the city went and spoke with each of those residents.
When the dog park was brought forward as a motion, we did speak with essentially all the residents there, and we did hand out a letter as well to say that this was going to be a project that we were looking at.
And they were on side or were
The results from, and I think a lot of, or some of the engagement is from those residents. I would say that the residents right in the vicinity have a lot of concerns around foot traffic down their road as well as parking.
in the parking, imagine, because it's not like you have to actually drive there probably to go walk your dog. Well, I mean, depending where you are, but for the parking issues and stuff, were there any of that?
There is, other than on-street parking, there's no parking dedicated for the dog park. The dog park is meant to be a community walkable dog park.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Councillor Day.
Thank you. My question is really around how we will handle the addition of any noise abatement hedging, given there are a few places in Colwood where hedges were planted adjacent to small parks that have subsequently been removed, with the city not allowing those. I'm just curious how we manage adding noise abatement hedging without any real details up front. Do we have any information on how we plan to roll that out?
So the hedging that we're talking about is going to be located on city property within the park. So the fence would be set back a little bit. Obviously, the existing fence is on the property line, so it'd be a city asset to maintain going forward. Also, we'll consult with the residents as well to ensure that that's something that they want next to their fence, and there may be some choice in whether it's like a laurel or a cedar or something like that. But ultimately, it will be a city-owned piece of landscaping.
Perfect. And my other question is just in regards to the water. It does mention that we're going to have a water fountain for both humans and four-footed friends to use, or mostly four-footed. But I'm just wondering if we have a water supply in place, or did that impact the budget?
There's already I believe it's a 2-inch water service at the top of the hill for the irrigation when they developed that a while ago. So that's existing. They're tying into there.
And will there be irrigation provided to help to manage the urine that will accumulate and perhaps wash it a little down so that it's a little cleaner and easier each time?
Not within the actual dog park area itself.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to commend Councillor Ward for bringing this forward. I think this is a much needed community amenity. And I understand that there were some folks that were concerned about parking issues, and I do see this as a direct community amenity, not so much a destination dog park like you would see with Colwood Creek. We're not going to maybe get it perfect this time, but we're going to learn as we grow. And I think this is a great amenity for the community. So I'll be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Jensen.
Yeah, thank you. This is fantastic. And I had visions as Councillor Day was speaking of dogs running through sprinklers, and I thought that would have been wonderful. But we did get some feedback about noise and smells. I mean, quite frankly, these dogs are already in that neighborhood. So the noise is already there. I guess if you get a concentration of a few having a good time in the middle of the summer, I can think of far worse sounds that may float through the neighborhood. But this is fantastic, and I love the detailed diagrams. And I say, let's just get on with it. And you know, if we have to test and adjust as we go, I mean, that's fantastic, or mitigate something that pops up. Many communities have successfully delivered a dog park and the earth didn't stop turning. The one question I do have at the top of the hill there, people will try and park there. I can't envision that area, Gord, but I mean, is there potential? Do you see a need for some signage or anything like that to prevent that?
I don't believe you'd be able to park if you're talking on Machosen Road.
Yeah, just at the very top of the hill there. I can't picture what's there, but
Yeah, on the dog park side, I don't believe you can actually park there.
the other side is gravel though, right?
The other side is gravel, yes. And people do already park there.
It's something we can monitor if it's a concentration of dog people that show up, I guess, with large vehicles. We can work backwards. Thank you.
I'll go first before Council Ward. So I just have a couple questions, Gord. I don't consider your survey valid. I'm not trying to be negative, but 29 people responding to a survey is not valid in my eyes. Regardless of that, right now, I am very supportive of a dog park there. So I just wanted to clarify something because you said we missed an opportunity to have it down near Quarry Park. You know, my vision was I was hoping that we can have it right against, you know, those big giant banks someplace, you know, have a dog park there. Ideal, because I know this is not a destination dog park, and I'm having a hard time with that as a non-resident of Royal Bay. That means I'll have to go to Colwood Creek Park, continue to Colwood Creek Park when I live basically right next to Royal Bay. And you guys want me to exercise and walk all the way there, I guess. I guess that's the idea. But I just from a equity point of view, I kind of don't think it's fair because it's an amenity for all Colwoodians because we don't have a lot of these dog parks right now. So I'm just trying to figure out like why we missed this opportunity to have it down in Quarry Park. Like I would have thought right against those cliffs somehow, you know, would have been just the ideal thing, you know, because washrooms are there, everything is there, right? So can you explain that to me?
I don't believe we missed the opportunity at the land around where you're discussing there, where the sports field is going in now, and then we have the seated area all the way around that sports field. That is there is a plan to have more recreational facilities there, including another field, a rec center, that sort of thing. So that area is definitely still plannable for the city.
Okay, I thought I read in the report that we missed an opportunity, and I didn't know what you meant by that.
There was a dog park that was envisioned within Quarry Park at phase one at one point.
I remember that.
And that was where it was decided not to put a dog park there. So that was the missed opportunity to put the dog park at that area. But there was never any discussion about a dog park in phase two of Quarry, which is still plannable.
So it's possible. Is that what you just said right now? It's possible.
I believe it would be possible, yes.
And even on the beachland side, it's possible too, correct?
Possible, but I don't know as far as planning is concerned on the beachland side. I'm not sure where you would be able to put a dog park there.
Because I look at this for the expense, $344,000. That's a pretty damn expensive dog park. And I'm imagining right now why. I don't understand. I can't fathom that right now. And, you know, I'm having a hard time with that because this makes this permanent now. Like this is permanent. It's not something that we can change later down on the line. Oh, geez, we have this opportunity in Quarry Park now, or we have this opportunity in Beachlands. And if we take the time right now and query that right now, you know, where else it could be, because that's where the report, it's a good report, it's a solid report. But it's just those options. I didn't see the options, you know, what else we could possibly do, because I support it. I mean, I'm a dog owner, but, and, like I said, it just seems like it's gonna be a, something for the people in that neighborhood, and not necessarily, the rest of us will have to drive. And I looked at the concerns because I read all the comments, and the concerns were people are gonna park in that little loop there, Mendez place. And so I looked at that one. I think if I was a neighbor, I think I'd be angry. I wouldn't be planning too many parties at my house because no one would be able to park there. So I'm just trying to look at it from a practical point of view. And so I don't expect to have an answer, but I just feel that this is missing. You know, is there an opportunity in other places? I guess that's my question. Is there an opportunity? Do we have to make this decision now? Is it the money is coming from, I believe, from our community fund right now, but can we wait and get a better solution maybe, you think?
Staff could return to council with a proposal for the area around Quarry Park.
Because another area that I looked at in a park that is, I swear to you, it's never used, ever. And that's down by the Royal Bay Bakery, Wickham Park. And there's 3 houses that are sort of near, 2 that are way away from the one that's closer. And I looked at that and I went, ooh, there's parking all up front. There's street parking on Machosen. I thought, geez, I wonder why we don't use this one, because it's a park that's rarely used. So it's just another option. So I don't know what you looked at, I guess. So don't get me wrong. I'm pro this. I want this to happen, but I question the dollar value, and I question, is there a better place to put this so it's more accessible to all Colwood? That's where my bottom line is. Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Ward, did I create something?
Thank you. Respectfully, Mr. Mayor, I'm having a hard time with your comments there. You question the dollar value when this was voted on by council previously in terms of allocating these funds. The budgeted amount is almost exactly what was identified by staff. Council voted unanimously to push this forward. Prior to that, a year prior to that, when this was originally brought forward, I brought diagrams to the council. We looked at the site again at that time. It was supported by yourself at that vote. So on 2 occasions you voted for this. On 1 occasion, the dollar amount was known and the location was very clearly identified. And now I find we're here identifying this suddenly as problematic. So one, I would say that it is very much a regional amenity. It isn't Royal Bay specific. In fact, it's actually above Royal Bay. So it appeals probably more so to folks that would be kind of in the Dunsmuir area. It's walkable from all of those neighborhoods, and then it accesses the perimeter trail. With respect to the other location you mentioned, I mean, there's 3 or 4 parking spots on Machosen Road in front of that, but then you've got a retail business next door. You know, would you propose a dog park next to the bakery? I'm not certain that's an ideal scenario. And there's residences adjacent to that. So you're not changing anything from a square footage standpoint and ballparking it, but looking at Google Maps, it really isn't all that different. It's just a different shape. So I don't find that that the argument against it holds. I think we reviewed Quarry Park. It was not accepted. The ship has sailed on Quarry Park planning. To just push this off again and suggest that someday, somewhere, we'll find a place that's reasonable just doesn't make sense to me. This particular plot of land, you know, when I spoke to the developer about it, when I first proposed it, you know, going on almost a year and a half ago, they had sought to do some things. Ironically, actually, they'd sought to look at community gardens there. They thought this is a piece of land we could do something, but that was ruled out as well because of the soil conditions and wind and other factors. They graciously decided not to develop it because of the residents that were there. They didn't want to block the views. They realized the negative PR that would come with that. So they envisioned something like this. I would remind council as well that we managed to secure the opposite side of the road, the flat area that's adjacent to the homes there, eventually to be parkland as part of the Beachlands Park. Now that will probably necessitate some form of parking at the top of the hill. If we have a viewpoint and trails and things there. As it stands now, there is a large gravel shoulder. People park there all the time as it is today. They like to stop and admire the view and look out. So there is space for some people to come and park there. And I think we can mitigate issues on Mendez Place. We can make it no parking, for example. We can make it resident only parking. I think there are opportunities to address a few of the issues, but at the end of the day, this council has now twice supported moving forward on this. Staff has done their work. They've come forward with the amount, and to suddenly pivot and pull it just is completely illogical to me. So I will continue my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I would like to suggest a couple of things about this proposal. I happen to agree that this is a good local destination. The perimeter park is accessed off of Wishart Road, where you would be able to find parking, Mr. Mayor. And it is right by the accessible crosswalk that light up crosswalk that's there to help people cross the road where traffic gets going a little quickly. And I see a number of people crossing there with their dogs quite regularly. So there is a good trail network through Royal Bay. And from the roadway, if you needed to access with a vehicle, it makes a good walk with your animal and with a destination at the end where you could meet up with other people, have some dog socialization time. So that is a positive. I think that there may be a need to consider at some point in time in the future an accessible parking space, because the people who would most need to access to exercise their dog would be someone with mobility issues who would find it difficult to access via the perimeter trail. I'm not sure how accessible that trail is. I think it's fairly accessible, but that is an improvement that I would suggest for a future date, possibly on the other side of the road, possibly with a crosswalk needed, because that part of Minchosen Road has been continuously a subject of input with regards to speed and everything else. I was hoping that I was going to hear a motion, but having not heard one, and I am speaking for the second time, so I am going to move the staff recommendation if I may.
Okay. Did you get that? Okay, thanks very much. Discussion. Yes, I do have to have a final say just to come back on you, Councillor Ward. I wasn't arguing the fact that this isn't needed, and I'm not arguing where it was located, but the instructions, the last instructions we gave to parks was to look at options. And we came back with the option that was suggested in the first place. So I didn't see the options. That's my point. The second thing is that, yes, we did do a, it wasn't even an E-class estimate. You could kind of came and said, this is the dollar value that we needed. And I would have never thought in my wildest dreams that would ever come to that. I thought, okay, they're looking after themselves. They've got contingency in there. And we don't approve anything. There's no budget really approved for this yet. You haven't got a budget approval from council on this. I was just questioning why it was that much in the end. You know, like I said, it was a rough order magnitude number that you gave us right now. And I guess there's a lot more than just fencing in this. That's what I'm suggesting right now. Not sure. I know you want to put a water fountain in there and everything like that. So, but I had no idea that this was going to be the cost in the end. So I think that's a B class or C class estimate you have right now.
So that the number in the report today is a quote from a provider or a consultant, or sorry, contractor.
Right.
And so that's basically a class A. That's what
Oh,
we're
it
gonna
is
pay.
cost.
That's a fixed
Okay.
price, yeah.
That's fine. I just want to understand it because I didn't see that detail there and I didn't understand it. So anyways, I'll call the vote. Nope, I won't. Councillor Ward, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, in speaking to the motion, I'm compelled to just put it on the record that in terms of background for the public, on May 12th, 2025, Council passed the following resolution. Council directs staff to engage directly with Path Developments, formerly Gablecraft, on the use of this specific parcel of land for the purpose of an off-leash dog park. Subsequent to that, April 27th, 2026, Council approved $370,000 in funding for this project through the Growing Communities Fund. So the actions were taken and the policy before us is what, an additional $7,000 above that. So I just want to be on record as stating that we have taken these 2 steps. This is not something I've imagined or assumed. This is what we've done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I will call the question right now. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, we'll move on. 7.2, and before I start 7.2, I understand we have some speakers for 7.2. If you want to come up.
I'm Caitlin Keenan from 391 Tamarack Road in the Gamble Tamarack neighborhood. Last October, this council passed Resolution R 2025-224. It acknowledged that established neighborhoods like ours deserve the dignity of a gentler approach to densification, the same approach comparable neighborhoods in Colwood already receive. We were grateful. It felt like council saw what we'd been trying to explain, that our street doesn't fit the designation that's been given, that we feel like a cartographic error, a slip of the red pen. The staff report before you tonight recommends deferring any reconsideration of our inclusion in Colwood Corners to a future OCP update, one that would be scoped after the election and completed years from now by a council that won't have the history this one has built. In the meantime, the final clause of that motion would bring 420 Tamarack back for consideration under the very designation your resolution was meant to question. To proceed with 420 Tamarack under the current contested OCP designation is the same as declaring that this designation will stand. By the time the OCP update finally rolls around, our status in the comprehensive development zone would be a fait accompli. OCP Policy 6241, the gentle infill objective, was written precisely for neighborhoods like ours. It embraces gradual densification that maintains neighborhood character while creating housing choice. We'd welcome that. The Colwood Corners designation has no policies for gentle infill because it was never meant to govern a residential neighborhood. Applying it here is an inconsistency within the OCP's own logic, and one that comes with a massive unresolved infrastructural burden, as staff themselves have acknowledged. We're not asking to be exempt from densification. We're asking to be granted a designation that reflects what we are and gives us a sustainable path forward. Council has the policy basis to act on that tonight. It doesn't require a full OCP review. It requires a specific direction to staff with a clear target and a deadline this council can still meet. You all know this file. A new council won't. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Anne Jeffrey. I also live at 391 Tamarack Road. I want to reply to the letter from the developer that was submitted to this meeting's agenda. They have noted that they feel it would be unfair to them, a matter of procedural unfairness, if their proposal is not considered under the current OCP. I want to point out that they were fully aware of the unresolved policy issues and chose to proceed anyway. The report from staff attached to the Planning and Land Use Committee meeting agenda for May 4th stated, staff advised the applicant of this resolution, meaning R 2025-224, including that a similar rezoning application in the area was not supported by council. Notwithstanding this, the applicant has requested that their application proceed for consideration under the current OCP policies. The developer has accepted the risk that council may reject or defer approval to their proposal due to this unresolved resolution. I want to note that any development that gets approved in spite of this unresolved resolution will change our neighborhood to the extent that it undermines the intent of Resolution R 2025-224. This one proposal alone would easily double, if not triple, our neighborhood population all at once. And if we've already done that, then when the city staff finally do consider those policy issues, the writing is on the wall. The change has already happened, and there's no point trying to turn the clock back. Or at least we fear that would be the argument. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Oh, hello. My name is Janelle Bogdanov, and I live at 3396 Rockwood Terrace. I also attended the Planning and Land Use Committee hearing for this application, and I felt it was important to return tonight. As both a resident and registered nurse working closely with seniors, I have a perspective that I believe is important to this discussion. I'm a co-owner and director of care of Qualicare South Island. We're a home care company that supports seniors throughout Greater Victoria. Through my work, I see firsthand how much a person's environment impacts their health, independence, and quality of life. Many of the seniors I work with are looking to downsize. They no longer need a large family home, and they want to leave the community. They don't want to leave the community where they've built their lives, friendships, and support networks. They want housing that is much easier to maintain while remaining connected to people and places they know. I also see not all housing environments support healthy aging equally. In home care, we always encourage clients to stay active through walks and outdoor activities. However, when a senior lives in an area that feels unsafe or difficult to walk in, those opportunities often become limited. Our caregivers are often walking clients indoors instead of outdoors because it's simply a safer option. While we make the best of it, it's not the same as enjoying fresh air, green space, and connected to the neighborhood around them. In contrast, by seniors who live in a more quieter, walkable environment with access to outdoor spaces are more active, more socially connected, and maintain their independence longer. As our population ages, we need housing that bridges the gap between large family homes and higher levels of care. This is why I support the proposed development in 420 Tamarack Road. Its location and green space and connection to surrounding community provide an opportunity for people to age in place while maintaining their independence and quality of life that is so important to their well-being. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Jason Schultz. I live at 401 Tamarack Road. I'm a father of two kids in the community, and yeah, it's, as we've already mentioned before, it is a family community area. I'm here to express my firm opposition to Bylaw 2115. As a dad, my number one priority is the safety of my kids. This proposal represents an extreme over-densification of a sensitive single-rest cul-de-sac that directly impacts our neighborhoods, our neighbors, and ourselves in a negative way. As far as there are no sidewalks. There's, aside for the traffic that would be pretty much tripled. There's no walking there, so there is actually no walking from that area. There are no lights. There are no sidewalks, and so it's a little different. So it's not this area you can just walk into. You already live there, or you don't, kind of thing, but you don't really actually just walk there. The park. So I do understand vehicles and traffic flow. I sell motorcycles for a living, so I have a lot to do with that. Basically, forcing a massive 6-story building with a 175 stall parking garage onto a narrow dead-end street is a recipe for disaster. This is a vehicle development dependent complex. Once again, there is no real walking in that area. It is definitely dependent on owning a vehicle. It's not transit oriented development. It will cause peak hour gridlock and catastrophic safety bottleneck. At the moment, already one simple garbage truck or recycling truck can already cause gridlock at the top of the street. As far as safety is concerned, if something ever happened down there, if there was that, it would be a dead end road. where if a fire breaks out next to the city in the dry forest, incoming fire trucks will completely trap local families with zero evacuation routes. The project is also a financial trap for taxpayers. Planning staff have already indicated that the entire neighborhood would need to be developed with 12 to 15-story buildings to offset the tax revenue.
Thanks very much. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm speaking tonight to register a formal procedural objection to Council's even considering the 420 Tamarack Road before the mandated neighborhood review is delivered. Last September, Planning and Land Use Committee identified the need for a deeper consideration of the high-density development in our neighborhood. On October 14th, Council unanimously passed a resolution instructing staff to review the appropriateness of the center's OCP designation for our pocket and develop that gentle infill strategy for existing neighborhoods like ours. Despite Council's clear intent and direction, staff have continued to place the 420 Tamarack file on the agenda without completing the review, which was intended to address this scale of neighborhood development. Planning staff have cited their new internal prioritization matrix as reasoning for this, but staff acknowledge the local development applications are at an all-time low, leaving the department with this significant surplus of operational time. Staff have the hours and resources. They've simply chosen not to execute the review. An internal staff matrix cannot be used to trap a direct council resolution in an endless procedural rut. While pushing this very type of private developer project, the review is meant to address through the back door. The administrative approach inflicts agenda whiplash on local citizens, forcing volunteer communities to repeatedly mobilize to City Hall to defend itself against a project that currently lacks settled policy foundation, something that councillors voiced that they were trying to avoid by mandating the proposed review in the first place. Do not let the developer team sway you with the arguments about financial hardship or transactional community amenity contributions. Council is under no obligation to guarantee a private applicant's profit margins at the expense of sound community planning. I urge members of council to introduce a formal motion to postpone consideration of Bylaw 2115 to a definite date. Direct the staff that this application shall not return until the mandated OCP review is completed, published, and debated first, and give staff an expected completion date for this. I respectfully implore council to show this community that your public intentions have meaning through action. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, please. It's on. It's on.
Oh, it's on. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Alexander Bogdanov. I live at 3396 Rockwood Terrace here in Colwood, and I'm here in support of the 420 Tamarack project or application. I attended the Planning and Land Use Committee hearing for this application, and I'm back tonight because what I heard there matters and I believe deserves to be said again. So professionally, I work as a property manager in Greater Victoria. So every week I work with renters, landlords, and families looking for housing. So I see the rental market very up close. So one of the biggest challenges we face is finding quality rental homes in neighborhoods where people actually want to live. Places that are quiet, connected, and feel like a community. So when we talk about density, it's important to remember that not all housing is equal. Location, design, and the surrounding environment makes a huge difference. So 420 Tamarack Road is exactly the type of property people are looking for. It's a quieter setting, it's near parks, away from heavy traffic. These are features that renters consistently ask for, but there simply isn't enough supply like this. So for my professional experience, when a building like this becomes available, there is a strong demand because it fills a gap that currently exists in Colwood. It's a very desirable area. People want to be here, but properties like this don't exist as much as they should. So this isn't just about adding homes, it's about adding the right homes in the right places. That's why I believe this application represents the kind of housing Colwood needs as it continues to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Eric Coachin. I live on 802 Bexhill Place.
I also run a mortgage business in Colwood. I'm in favor of the 420 Tamarack project. I think it's important that the fact that the Planning and City Land Committee have already approved this area for high density. I think it's important that we avoid going backwards and reducing that density in that area. I think it's also important to note that the developer has gone through great lengths of trying to accommodate the area by having, a 3-story perception from most angles of that project, as well as I think it's important that, you know, the density that we require in that area is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Hello, my name's Greg Silverton, 408 Tamarack Road. Just in response to the last speakers, the reason our area is nice and quiet is because it doesn't have 6 to 15-story apartment buildings in it. And previous speaker talked about having different housing for our elderly. Again, our community is in favor of having density and housing, but not the excessive 6-story. We're welcome to have a 3-story apartment building where seniors can live and enjoy our quiet community. And I think that's what we really are wanting here for the staff and council to review this OCP and designate us with more appropriate density instead of this high density that they are pushing for. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Wayne Kalinchuk. I'm at 939 Ancona, and I'm in favor of this proposal. Been in the community for a very, very long time. Since 1980, I've seen so many things change, and one of the things that I really appreciate about Colwood is the growth that you've put in place. You've given us a community that we just adore and want to be here. I've had my family grow up here. I've got grandchildren here. We're all trying to make sure that we can stay in the community, and affordability is extremely important. And we know that one way of bringing the affordability is to have more options for people in the community. Your plan about developing this area for high density, when as high as 15 stories, et cetera, being the heart of the community is applauded by many, many of us. This proposal here is for a smaller footprint, a footprint that we can all put our hearts and soul behind. I can see it. I'd like to downsize at some point in time. I can see the walkability to everything. I can see the galloping goose. I can see the park. The development is going to put in a playground. I can see my grandchildren there, my kids there. I just want council to look, as you have in the past, to the future, and please continue to provide this community with all of the amenities that we have. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Next, please.
Hello, my name is Anna Marie Sivertson. I live at 408 Tamarack Road. I don't have a prepared statement, but I do want to speak to the affordability of a 6-story rental units that are market value. I don't know if that is actually a true statement that would be affordable. I'd like to actually see the statistics on that. If I understand things, I have 3 children that are under the age of 30 that are looking for homes, and they are all still at home with me. And there's a reason for that, is because rental units are impossible to afford when you're single and by yourself. Having rental units that are going to be in a nice area, which I appreciate, is it going to be affordable housing? I strongly question that. And as far as accessibility for our seniors go, we live at the bottom of a hill, and the accessibility may not be as easy for seniors to walk uphill, as you may think. It is not accessible to seniors unless they're driving for the most part, unless you're very, very active. Yes, we do have the Goose that's accessible through Pacifica Housing that they kindly let us do right now, but I don't expect that if we have 153 units being put in, that that's going to continue because the traffic through the Pacific Housing, which have seniors and young families living there, will probably put an end to people going through that. And you'd have to go up the road to Whale Road to go down Whale Road to access the Goose again. And I think staff spoke to this last meeting that there is no current accessibility plan to the Goose right now. So the traffic alone too will bottleneck going out of that coming out of the road up Gamble Road there to get onto the main road. And anything that happens between Lee Road and again the Colwood underpass, if there's any highway incident, everything goes down Goldstream Avenue. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you very much. Corporate Officer, how are we on with time, by the way?
That was our 10th speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry?
Our 10th speaker just spoke. 10.
Okay,
So
so maybe one
that
more?
would be 20 minutes probably already, but
Okay, that's 20, it's 40. So we'd have to authorize more time then. Is that what you're saying? How many more speakers do we have out there, please? 1, 2, 3. Okay, another 6 minutes. Can I get a motion to extend it? Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Grove and Councilor Ward. Any opposition? Seeing none, we will let the extra 3 people speak. Next, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Dallas King, and I am the applicant for the rezoning of 420 Tamarack Road. The process to rezone this property started over 2 years ago. We began by meeting with city staff, doing a careful review of the official community plan. The OCP that has been in place since 2018 and is the guiding document for how Colwood grows. The OCP permits a base density of 2 FSR and up to 4.5 FSR for this designation. We never took that position that we should build 12 to 15 stories, the higher density that would be permitted. From the very beginning, we were respectful of the neighborhood, and we designed a building at the absolute minimum base density permitted under the OCP. The unique lay of the land, which I know a few councillors had an opportunity to visit, allows us to remain at 3 stories on the Tamarack side, where the 2 closest homes are located. This was deliberate by design. We will also be investing in the surrounding infrastructure, a new multi-use pedestrian and cycling path, upgraded sidewalks, and an improved cul-de-sac, providing safe walking and cycling connections to Whale Road, where transit and the Galloping Goose Trail are located. On parking, we listened. Through multiple design iterations with our architect, we made the changes needed to fully meet the city's parking bylaw. This project is compliant with both the OCP and the parking bylaw. We are adjacent to Gamble Park. We are protecting every park tree. A large portion of our building has no visually impacted neighbors. I ask that you consider the genuine effort that went into this application. 2 years of working within your process, your OCP, and your bylaws to create something that adds real value to this community. Please support the motion to bring this rezoning forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, please. I know there's 2 left.
Hi, guys. I live at 840 Ankethan Place. My name is Joel Scher. I'm a longtime resident of Colwood and business owner. And I know how everybody feels. I live at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac street as well. And I too feel the rising tide of development all around me. I'm here in support of this project. I have a 3-year-old and an 18-year-old kid. So I have a fairly unique perspective on this, as I'm seeing it as where are my kids going to live that are near me? I don't want them moving and leaving the island or moving to Alberta like everybody else is doing. I want to keep them close. And I love my neighborhood just like everybody else does. And densification is the way to get there. The problem is I've been building condos with people as a construction worker for 15 years now. And 99% of them are in places that I don't want to live, in buildings that dump right onto busy roads in places that I wouldn't want my kids to live, and neither would they. So those places end up being a starter home that is just inside the budget that you could get into, but not a place that you ever want to live. And you're just basically looking for the next exit to somewhere that's better. I see this project as a good place that my son could get into now, and down the road, maybe even my daughter. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Last person, please.
Hello, my name is Dan Laux. I live at 401 Gamble Place. I was the one who went around with the petition that had everyone in the neighborhood oppose this development, with the exception of one person. I don't think it's appropriate to build something like this, like less than 50 feet from a park where salmon and eagles are. Yeah, there's a lot of things I have to say right now. You're not going to be able to see your kids if you can't see the sky. If we just keep building up, you can't see your families. You can't see anything. Yeah, like everywhere you go is just buildings all the way to the road. You can't see anything. So that's it.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, seeing no other hands for public participation, I'm going to take a 5-minute recess right now for health reasons, health recess, and we'll come back and we'll have the CEO introduce the next item. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, I'll bring us out of recess and reconvene the meeting. And I will turn it over to our CEO, Mr. Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of council. This is the policy program for the remainder of 2026 and looking forward to 2027. There is a long recommendation and I won't take council through it, but there is a report should you wish to receive it with a number of decision points of what to do with this policy time that has been made available as a result of lower development activities than what we've seen in the past, which allows us the opportunity to look at policy. Council will recall you did see that policy list in February. This is the opportunity to reallocate some of that planning time to head into those other policy areas. Typically what happens when development applications go down, that's the opportunity to get ready with policy for that next wave of development. And that's why we're bringing this forward to council, that council can make sure that the priorities are aligned with what council would like to see. And Ms. Bosomworth is here to provide council with an overview of that.
Thanks a lot. Mairi, over to you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor and Council. So yes, tonight we are going to go over additional policy projects to advance for the remainder of 2026 and look forward to 2027. So just a very high level summary, but ultimately our department is in a transition phase right now. We have historically been experiencing very high levels of development application volumes, which has forced our department to run at or over capacity, which has resulted in a backlog of policy work. We are now seeing a decline in application volumes, which is creating more of an opportunity for us to address that backlog of policy work. We did go to council in February to seek direction on policy projects to advance this year. We underestimated the amount of time and volume of development applications we would receive this year. And ultimately, we have additional capacity to do more policy work. So that is why we are here this evening. The policy projects that we are recommending are more minor targeted policy projects so that they can be completed within 2026, making space and time for us to undergo a long-term planning project in 2027. So tonight, the key council decision points for you, and I will go into detail about each of these. Number one, to prepare for a comprehensive update to our OCP to initiate in 2027 after the election. Number two is which policy project should we prioritize for that capacity that we have available for the remainder of 2026. And then finally, how should we process the rezoning application for 420 Tamarack Road? So before getting into the actual policy projects, we just wanted to set the stage for you and really give you a status update of where the planning department is. We do intend on doing this on a biannual basis now and bring to council development application numbers to you on a biannual basis. So you do have a better understanding of where our department is at, along with the status update on our policy projects currently underway. So this table summarizes development applications that we've received from 2020 to 2026, obviously year to date. The bottom row is the total number of applications. If application volumes remain at the pace that we have been seeing for 2026, that would still result in lower total applications than we have historically seen. 2020 to 22 was certainly the highest volumes that we have seen, with a decline between 23 and 25, and then a fairly sharp decline in 26. The development application volumes are very dependent on the market. We have heard from developers that it is challenging times for the market right now, but it is also cyclical. When there is a down, it does ultimately go up again, and that is something we need to anticipate for as well. Another thing I would like to point out to you on this table is it's not just the total number of applications that's important, it's the type of application. So the top two rows are the rezoning and subdivision applications. These are our more comprehensive types of applications that require more staff time. And you will see in 2026, we have not received any rezoning applications, and we've only received one subdivision application. So even of the applications that we have received, they are more minor. They will take up less staff time than rezoning applications. I will also add that the planning department has been consistently bringing applications to council and to planning and land use throughout 2026 so far. Many of those applications were submitted in 2025 and so have just been going through our process in approval to council. But what we're seeing right now is we're ultimately caught up to application intake. We have a few more applications, a rezoning and a DBP that will be moving forward to council, but as you can see, we don't really have any others to be coming forward. So that's just kind of setting the stage from a development perspective. This slide just summarizes our policy projects currently underway. All of these projects are at different phases of their independent processes, but some of them are close to completion. So we have small scale multi-unit housing. Of course, that is due by the end of June. National Urban Park, we are wrapping up this current phase of that project. That will be an ongoing project for years, but the amount of effort involved by staff will fluctuate through that. And then as another example, the CWSP, that plan itself has been adopted and we're currently implementing components of that plan. So even from a policy perspective, there is capacity that is going to be becoming available within our department. And then just to kind of wrap those two pieces up, when we think about capacity for the planning department, we think about the volume of development applications and the policy projects underway. So you can think of this image as a capacity box. So what can we fit in the box as a planning department? Typically, we target to be 80% capacity, and that is to ensure that we can respond to fluctuations in the market if there were to be an uptick in development applications or emerging priorities by council. So currently, right now, we're about 25% for development applications, just over that for policy work, which leaves approximately 1,000 hours available right now to allocate to new policy projects.
Take questions right now?
Sure.
Okay, Councilor Day.
Thank you. Sorry, I just didn't want you to get too far in your presentation. If I could get you to go back 2 slides. Just in setting the stage and looking at your development application volumes, there are a number of rezonings and subdivisions that have taken place over the years that have not come forward for DVPs or DPs. And I just would like to inquire if you're able to add that statistic to your volumes so that we can keep tracking that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because I think, especially in hearing a lot of input tonight around the importance of bringing affordable homes forward, there are a number of proposed developments that are currently sitting on the books, not moving forward. And I just wanted to include those in what we think about so that we could consider incentivizing or addressing some of the issues that we have with things that are already in the hopper. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, just a quick summary. So essentially we have capacity right now. So we have approximately 1,000 hours to allocate to new policy work for the remainder of 2026. So before we get into the actual policy projects that we're recommending for 2026, we wanted to start with providing and creating a plan to address our long-term planning. So at the City of Colwood, we have the OCP, which, as we know, was adopted in 2018. We have the land use bylaw, which was adopted in 1989. So these are key policy documents that we use on a daily basis that are outdated. And we have talked a lot about at the council table about initiatives that could potentially form the scope of work of the OCP. So I'm referring to the review of the Colwood Corners designation and the gentle infill strategy. Those policy initiatives are significant. They have implications on our broader land use and density framework, as well as our growth management framework within our OCP. Changing a designation in an OCP is difficult to do on an independent basis without impacting our broader growth management framework. And so staff are recommending that those initiatives that form part of the broader OCP update, and staff included that we prepare for an OCP update as part of the staff recommendation, because we acknowledge those policy initiatives are a priority of council. We know that, and we want to acknowledge and recognize that we do intend on addressing those policy initiatives, but our recommendation is to do it as part of an OCP update. But we wanted to formalize that within a staff recommendation, as opposed to just keeping those projects on our master policy list. And so that was one of the recommendations this evening, that our intention is to return to council in one of the first meetings of 2027 after the election, once the new council has received their orientation, to seek direction from council to initiate an update to the OCP. Our intention would be to return to council with a fulsome scope of work and budget associated with that. And so as we work towards that date, we will be consolidating policy initiatives that could form part of that broader OCP update. So next, I'm going to get into the staff recommendations for the policy projects to initiate for the remainder of 2026. We selected these specific projects because they are minor and they're more targeted policy updates that can be completed within 2026, but they address that policy backlog that we have been referring to. And then it will ultimately leave space and time for us to undergo a broader OCP update in 2027. So starting with reviewing the intensive residential forming character development permit requirement. So council gave direction to staff on May 11th to remove that requirement for lots 550 meters squared and under in small scale multi-unit housing of 3 to 4 units. We anticipate that we will be receiving a high volume of those types of applications, with Beachlands building their single family homes. The majority of those would require this forming character development permit. We do intend to sort of elevate some of the design guidelines that are within the OCP and bring them up into the land use bylaw, so that we still can have some control of those forming character components. This project would approximately take 6 months. It's a medium effort just because it is an OCP amendment, so it does require a public hearing, and it can be completed by staff. The next project is Outlook Park Management Plan. So council directed staff for us to do the Herm Williams Park Management Plan. And our intention was to do a park management plan on an annual basis. Outlook Park was sort of the next park management plan for us to do. So we're suggesting to kind of expedite this, but do it concurrently with Herm Williams. Our intention is that we would use our existing sort of template for park management plans. So there is opportunity for more efficient use of resources, given that we're doing sort of 2 projects at once, including coordinating engagement for that. So the intention here is that we can do that within 6 months with staff resources. And then finally, the age-friendly plan review. So we do have an age-friendly plan. This was adopted in 2016. We have not assessed progress of actions that are identified in that plan. And so this is a review of those actions and what the progress is, and if there are any opportunities to make amendments to that plan. I would also say that we would be sort of reviewing this plan, also thinking about any opportunities to incorporate an age-friendly policies into the OCP as well. So it's kind of would be conducted before the OCP, but could be opportunities to incorporate results of that into the OCP. This also could be completed within 6 months and completed by staff resources. So next is making a decision on 420 Tamarack Road, the rezoning application. So this rezoning application went to the May 4th Planning and Land Use Committee meeting. It was scheduled to go to the May 25th council meeting, which was ultimately removed as staff identified to council that we would be returning tonight on June 8th to seek direction on the sequencing of policy work. How are we going to address the Colwood Corners designation review? The staff recommendation this evening is to group that Colwood Corners designation review into the broader OCP update. Staff are recommending to bring forward 420 Tamarack Road, the rezoning application, to council for consideration. And that really is regardless if it's going to be a standalone OCP amendment or as part of the OCP update. That would be under the existing land use designation. But I would say that it is ultimately up to council to decide on your decision regarding that rezoning application. It is up to you to decide if you approve or deny that application. If you do not feel like that this application is appropriate for that area, you can certainly deny the application. So just because we are bringing forward the application does not necessarily mean it will be approved. Sorry, I had another thought, but I think it's gone now. Okay. So
I just want some clarification.
Yeah.
I'm sure that council clearly understands what the decision they're making on 420 Tamarack tonight.
Mhm.
It is not an application approval tonight at all.
No.
It's not. It's basically whether we bring it forward for consideration or not.
That's correct. I would say this is a development application that we've received. The applicant has paid for that application. Our typical process is to process those applications, bring them forward to council, and council makes a decision on them. Right now, looking at council schedules and timing requirements to send out notices, we would be able to bring it to the July 13th council meeting would be the earliest we could bring it.
Thank you.
So just a summary, based on the capacity that we have available, these projects that we have recommended will fill that capacity until the end of the year. The approach to identifying these projects is that they're more minor targeted projects that can be completed within 2026. We are suggesting that we defer larger policy initiatives to the OCP update so that we're not undertaking larger policy projects that will be multi-year projects that would ultimately be concurrent with an OCP update anyways. So the projects that we're recommending this evening is reviewing that form and character development permit requirement, the Outlook Park Management Plan, and the age-friendly plan review. Alternatively, we have included the master policy list for council's consideration. It is appended to the report, which was the report that we brought in February. Council can choose to decide to prioritize any other project. Staff have recommended these projects as targeted amendments to complete within 2026. If council would like to prioritize other projects, then we can certainly do that. We have included a few other options for you to consider here, which includes a standalone review of that Colwood Corridors designation, a standalone review of or development of a gentle info strategy, developing a Machosen Road area plan, public art policy, or affordable housing policy. As I mentioned, there are many others in that master policy list that council can choose from. If you were to change the direction, staff would return to council with that sort of capacity analysis again, just to make sure that we do have capacity to undergo the new recommendation that council is providing. And ultimately, this is the staff recommendation. There are quite a few components of it, but the first one is about recognizing an OCP update. Then we recommend those 3 policy projects. It also recognizes that staff will return to council when we initiate each project with a project summary. It also directs staff to return to council on a biannual basis with an update on development application volumes and policy work, and that to proceed and bring forward the 428 Tamarack Road application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Open the floor for questions from council. We'll start off with Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Worship. And thank you so much, Mairi, because I did have some questions and you pretty much dealt with all of them. So a couple of thoughts. My question was going to be, how did we arrive at the seniors policy or the, I'm sorry, there's a better word for it than that, but basically the way you've explained it, I appreciate that and how it all builds on your future OCP review. So I like the way it all fits, because I was looking at your job list there and I felt that some others were maybe more of a priority in my mind, but the way you've explained it with the amount of time you have between now and the end of the year and what is easily accomplished, I like that. Now, as far as the Tamarack Road application, I'm going to support the recommended motion here unless someone else comes up with something else. But the reality is that the community requires certainty here, one way or the other. So I would like to see that move forward so that we can get to a decision at this table, which isn't going to happen tonight, so that the applicant and the community can have some certainty as we move forward. Those are, I guess, comments more so than questions, Your Worship. I'm happy to move the recommendation.
I was gonna let everybody else ask questions before I'll come back to you. Any other questions? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to staff, to you, Mairi. Around the alternative project options, I understand what you're saying in that the ones selected align nicely with kind of the term end and leave the positioning open for the larger scale OCP projects. I noted on that list, the Machosen Road project was there as well. Is that comparable in terms of time and staff capacity as something like Outlook Park, or is that left off because it's more comprehensive?
Yeah, that would be a more comprehensive process. I would say more at the medium, like 250 to 500 hours. It would be more similar to the development of the North Latoria area plan. So it would be in conjunction with the Machosen corridor study as well, to really just establish what is the vision for the Machosen corridor. The majority of it is designated as neighborhood right now, which supports up to townhomes, but I guess the question that we would need to answer through that process is that what we want to see for that area? So it would be a larger project that could also form part of the OCP update as well.
Great, thank you. No, and that answers it. I suspected as much. I think you obviously have carefully curated the list that you have because of that sort of Tetris game you've got to play there. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to find out because I think Machosen has been on the radar for some time, and traffic, particularly migrating from South Colwood, into out onto Souk Road and into the ubiquitous Colwood crawl has been a long-standing issue. But thanks for that. I appreciate your answer.
Councillor Day, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just curious, because the OCP is being proposed for a new council, which will be likely somewhat, if not significantly different than the current council here. Do you feel that that is something that's good for council to start their term with?
So I think the main intention for us to go early in the term and early in the year is to recognize that to do a comprehensive OCP update is a multi-year process. If we're starting in 2027, we do have a provincial deadline of 2030. And so it certainly is something that we need to get going on in order to achieve that 2030 deadline.
Great. And I think you've also indicated in your slides that both the gentle infill strategy and the designation of the Tamarack Gamble neighborhood in the Triangle Lands are both issues that kind of fit well into that OCP work. And I'm wondering if both of those are doable in this term.
If we start now, no, they would not be.
Okay. And if we were to do only one of them, I'm specifically concerned about the gentle infill strategy. That is a motion from this council that is on the books. And I'm just wondering why it's not able to be acted on at this time, that we have more time in the bank, but we're not able to get to it somehow.
So I think that we are suggesting to group the gentle infill with the broader OCP update, because if we're going to be changing land use designations as part of the OCP update, infill will have to be considered as part of that process. And so it's a little bit of the cart before the horse. We need to establish those land use designations first, and then the policies that belong within them.
Yeah, well, we have an OCP. It's not like a brand new thing. So I guess I'm having trouble with us not being able to accomplish a council motion, because we're all of us scattered throughout this community are projects that are affecting residents, and the lack of a gentle infill policy is not providing any assurity to the existing residents. So I'm hopeful that we can find a way.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jordison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question about just going back. Why do we need to bring the developments forward on a biannual basis, and why would they not just come forward in the quarterly updates that we get when we get them?
So we would just be bringing forward the application volumes on a biannual basis. This is just a new process that we are suggesting to council so that you are more aware of where we're at for development applications. If council would like to see that as part of the quarterly update, we can certainly do that instead.
Okay, I just think for the time for council, I just think it's more efficient for time. But I also, my next question is regarding this gentle infill strategy. I think that on October 14th, when I brought that forward at the meeting, the motion, as you all got added to and that stuff, and it was added, this designation of the Colwood Corners designation was added, and I don't think the intent of that was to do a whole OCP redo of the Colwood Corners designation. I think it was just to look at that neighborhood separately. And I'm having a hard time with having, you know, the room full of residents here that are concerned about this, and a developer that, you know, is here about it as well. And I mean, what he's proposed is quite lovely, but we have this promise to the neighborhood that we haven't been able to resolve. So how do you intend to, like, how do we deal with that? Because we have a development proposal before us, and we also have this issue that has not been resolved, a promise that council made to do.
So the intention of reviewing the Colwood Corners designation as part of a broader OCP update is because changing a land use designation is a fairly significant project. It is not just changing the lines on the map. We are changing our growth management framework, particularly in an area where that is our intended growth. That is where we are expecting to have our highest heights and densities, and we are reducing that size of that area. And so we have to consider the implications of that. Does that have to be reallocated somewhere else? We need to assess that more fulsomely and not independently for just that designation. I would also say when council provides staff directions to review designations when we have active applications, that is something that council can consider when you're reviewing that application. But ultimately, it is the existing OCP that we have adopted in that Colwood Corners designation. And so from a staff perspective, that is what we have to assess that application against. If council does not agree with that designation anymore, that is okay. And that could be grounds to deny the application.
But the application is OCP compliant, like pretty much, you know, for the rest of it. I think that I think we're at heads with this because you know, we have made a promise, and I'm going to keep it. Thank you.
It's Councillor Ward. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Sorry, earlier I had a question about Machosen Road, but I think I pivot to the current discussion. You know, first of all, I think, you know, there were some very impassioned, articulate, and valid points of view that were raised, not only this evening, but in previous meetings around this particular area, you know, the OCP designation for the area in question, and about this specific development. Obviously, we heard from residents who understandably are very concerned about the future of their neighborhood. You know, we heard from other stakeholders that, you know, made valid arguments about why something like this should proceed. And as usual, I think the sort of the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's sort of a balancing act. From beginning on this, when it first came to planning and land use, I had some questions around the OCP designation there. I raised those on record at that first meeting, wondering why we would, you know, look to densify that area to the extent that it was. I mean, talking 12, 15 stories, things like that. And I still don't feel that that is necessarily right at this point in time. And I say at this point in time because I do want to try to provide a nuanced perspective here or a balanced perspective. So I heard comments about, you know, environmental concerns, and I understand those. I heard concerns about traffic. That was one of the principal issues that was raised initially. So I do know an environmental study was done by Corvidae Environmental Consulting. I'm not going to go through it all. It's a pretty lengthy document, but I've taken the time to walk through their recommendations. And ultimately, the water features, which were spoken of as being, you know, an area of concern, will be undisturbed through the stream protection enhancement area approach. So those SPIAs have been determined. There were some mitigation strategies in there around other issues around sediment runoff and things like that. So the environmental report, up against the many other development applications I've seen, was pretty innocuous. There's not a lot of change to the, you know, the tree canopy in the area and things like that. The other piece that I found interesting was traffic. And I think it's important to note that, and sometimes I take these things with a grain of salt, but the consultant's traffic impact assessment on the particular proposal in question identified it as fairly inconsequential to the overall day-to-day impact there. So they define it under a variety of categories. One is level of service. There's 6 letter grades, A through F, with A being excellent. This was rated a B. Volume to capacity ratio, this was again quite reasonable. It was a 0.74, nowhere near the maximum. And really the key piece is what people are concerned about, which is, okay, how long do I wait to turn out of my neighborhood and turn into my neighborhood? And it was a delay of less than 10 to 15 seconds, rated B, on an unsignalized intersection. And the traffic consultants incorporated the numbers from the previously denied application of 396 Tamarack. So they kept those numbers in there for their traffic consultant, even though this council justifiably denied that due to the parking variances. And so for me, what I look at is I look at every project, not only by the OCP, but in isolation to some extent. And I made a commitment when I ran for election in 2022 that I would use the OCP as kind of my North Star. And that's what I would guide my decision making by. And I feel that you have to do something like that, or else you run the risk of just being inconsistent and waffling from one thing to the next. And thus far, I've done that. I've aligned with the OCP on development applications that come forward and denied those that sought unnecessary variances or tried to impose their will upon certain neighborhoods and things like that. This is one of the first times I've looked at it and said, yeah, you know, I have some concerns about the OCP. But I also know that walking that neighborhood with some others on council, I looked at this and said, okay, I cannot support 396 Tamarack, even without the parking variance. I wasn't at that meeting, but I would have opposed it. It was smack in the middle of this neighborhood. It just stood out like a sore thumb. It didn't fit. Everything about it was wrong. But I took the opposite approach to this one. It's at the very end of a dead end street. It is very unique in the sense I've never seen a development of this scale or mass that is hidden by the topography of the land, that it's 3 stories or townhouse height at street level, and then drops away so that the 6 stories disappear into the landscape, so to speak, surrounded by a little more than 2 sides of treat area as well. So it's not right in the middle of a neighborhood. And I'm not trying to downplay neighbors' concerns. That's not my point here, but I'm trying to put hyperbole and emotion and things aside and just look at the facts before me. So, you know, I hear residents' concerns. I understand the concern and the unease, particularly about the OCP designation, because I think the transformative nature of this project, and one of the residents that came to the microphone spoke about it, is does it sort of pave the way, you know, for, she said the writing is on the wall, I think were the words. Does it lead to a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth? So I understand that concern. But I do truly believe that this one proposal is uniquely situated to offer housing options away from the busy corridor, where another speaker mentioned that we often force multifamily residents to live. multifamily housing, for whatever reason, always ends up on the busy 4-lane road and becomes a stepping stone, as that individual said, to other types of housing. Why can seniors, single mothers, working professionals also, not deserve to come home to a quiet dead end street, peaceful homes nestled in parks and trees? So the key to me is balance. We can support a mix of housing. We just can't support a full transformation here. So one last item, and then I'll tell you where I'm going to go on this, is that there's a piece here that might be missing, and that's future state. I had a phone call today with someone with the island rail corridor. I gave him a call because we'd met previously and was discussing what's called the Reconciliation Corridor Initiative, which is, for those that aren't aware, the rail line that essentially runs in the woods up behind the property. You cross the creek and it's there. The CRD just dedicated $1.7 million to examining the viability of turning that corridor into a rail line to connect the West Shore and certainly other areas to downtown. The conversation, I think, is in a place it's never been before in this region in terms of bringing something like that to fruition. And anybody who knows anything about geography or understands how this is going or has paid attention to it for years, as I have, again, LRT was something that I made part of my platform in 2022 to pursue as hard as I could with what little influence you have at this table. Anybody can see that for Colwood to be a part of this, there would have to be a Colwood train station. And where does a Colwood train station go? Down behind Whale Road. What comes with a train station? Density. So it's almost an inevitability if that happens that you would see the downtown core of Colwood emerge and sort of arrive in where the triangle lands are, has always been planned, but also a little bit further north in the Whale Road area. So that's something to consider. And the last piece there too is just business. We know the Tap House failed in the Holiday Inn. The Ruby is there now, a local business. Those business people have predicated some of their decision-making on growth. And we know that growth is important to business. I know there's people who've written letters concerned about this development who have also been featured in business magazines talking about growth in Langford and what it means to their business. So the same thing applies here. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to make a motion. I understand Councillor Jansen wanted to do that. I will approve, or I will certainly support this one unique project in isolation, but I would also be seeking an amendment to apply a moratorium to any future development under the existing OCP to that region, so that one doesn't become 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, that one is one, and then at such time as this council or the council that follows does an OCP amendment, we would be in position to to determine truly, okay, is there a different designation that applies? And some of these decisions that'll happen in the interim around rail and other things can very well be a factor. So, and in fact, if Councillor Jansen is not offended, I would just make the motion. I would move to approve 420 Tamarack with an attached moratorium on accepting any future development applications under the existing OCP for that area until such time as an OCP amendment or other council decision changes that.
Yes. Councillor Day, please. Yes. Sorry.
There we go. We predicated tonight's discussion on this item being about the policy work, and that we were not looking at approval or not approval of 420 Tamarack.
That is correct.
Thank you. So that motion is out.
So I will go back to Councillor Jensen's. I know what he was going to say for his motion. I just thought I'd pipe in here because I haven't had an opportunity to speak yet. First of all, I want to recognize all the many nearby residents that showed up here tonight and before. You have genuine concerns, and I hear you. And I respect the time and the effort you've invested in participating in this whole process. I just want to back up, one thing that was pointed out by Councillor Ward, and I've been part of the committee, this what they call the RCI committee, the Reconciliation Corridor Initiative. Now, it hasn't gone public because everything has been basically in camera. It's very sensitive. I can say that it's an initiative that is being run by the First Nations. That is for the light rail train, the LRT. And I can tell you that there's work is actually happening, is proceeding under this RCI, or the Reconciliation Corridor Initiative. And this area of Colwood, this is probably not known to everybody, is the closest to the corridor, and the RCI wants to be relevant to Colwood. So you can decide what that means. And so, if there's, I'll put it in plain English. If there's ever going to be a station, an LRT station for Colwood, it's going to be located close to that. So that's the bottom line here. So I just wanted to back that up, and it changes the equation a lot because it's predicated on our OCP and what we've stated as the density there. So it's an important consideration right now. And so I'm just throwing that out right now, just for some other things. But I'll get back to the point that we are talking about policy tonight, and not an approval and application.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, there's nothing in the agenda that suggests we cannot make a motion around this application or approving it. It was a staff recommendation. I looked to make that amendment. Councillor Day's comment that it was predicated by that. That was not a vote. Council did not determine that we could not advance something. So we're not operating within the budget.
But so-
We're also discussing area fair stuff, like it hasn't happened.
That's right.
That hasn't even happened. Like that we've been talking about for years.
Yep.
Years and years. So I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime if we get LRT.
By saying we predicated this meeting by saying we're not going to do something, so you can't talk about it. That's not how a meeting.
I'd like to make amendment to the motion if the.
Anyone seconded the motion, so there's no motion.
I just want to be clear from staff. What was the purpose behind the motion, Mr. Johnson, please?
This is prioritizing staff's work, and the recommendation was to bring forward 420 Tamarack because that initial direction to staff, we required clarification. How do you want to deal with what council had put forward with the infill strategy with the existing development application that has been underway? So we wanted to make sure we were meeting what council's intention was. If you look back to the previous report, there are over 90 policy frameworks that are together, and it's our job to bring that forward to council so that you can prioritize it. So that's why we brought this forward, is so that council could prioritize this time of staff and how we get direction from council to ensure that we're meeting what your expectation is.
So essentially the decision you were looking from council, to make sure I understand this correctly, was it's not to approve the application. This is whether we're going to consider this as part of the policy or not considered part of the policy. Is that correct?
That is correct. Does 420 Tamarack be put on hold given that council wants to do this policy work, or do you wish to continue move forward with it?
Okay.
The bottom line is the OCP is in place for this area. In order for it to be actualized, it requires a rezoning. That rezoning is a discretionary power of council.
Right.
So we didn't want to put the cart before the horse without getting council's review of how you want to prioritize this and what that policy direction meant.
Okay, thank you. I just want to get that clarified. Councillor Day?
So sorry.
Sorry,
it's
you
still
still
on,
on?
and
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to make, if we need to put the motion on the table so I can make an amendment to it, I'd like to do that.
Okay, I'll go, I just in discussion right now still with questions.
I wanted to clarify the point of order that I raised because it's clear that it's not clear. And I just wanted to explain that according to Robert's Rules of Order, when agenda is published, the motions need to be appropriate to the item on the agenda. The item on the agenda is not whether or not to approve Tamarack. It is how to allocate our staff hours to policy work.
Includes that. Point of order, you're incorrect. The motion includes Tamarack. Councillor Jansen had indicated he was going to approve the staff recommendation, which included that. I was stating that I would do the same thing with an added component to put a moratorium on further development. That's exactly what's written down as the recommendation for council.
If I may,
Robert's rules quoted at me when you're wrong.
I'm not
You are
wrong.
incorrect. That is exactly what's on the paper in front of us.
I'm trying.
Corporate officer, please.
I just wanted to read to you the actual wording of the motion includes an and further that council directs staff to bring forward the rezoning. That does not mean that we're considering it here tonight. Thank you.
Corporate officer, what were you saying? Sorry.
We've also just, for your information, had inquiries from the public, and they were informed that the rezoning application was not going to be decided on tonight. So there's probably quite a few other people that would have attended tonight should they have thought that it was on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jensen, please.
Thank you, Worship, and I feel like this has gone off the rails a little bit. Although my thinking is similar to Councillor Ward's, I'd rather see a fulsome package before me that includes all the renderings and all the staff reports once again, so that I can make a fulsome decision at that time. So my intention was not to come to a conclusion on that particular piece of property this evening, but to convey that I would like to see it move forward to achieve some certainty. And I think when it comes back to this table is a time to offer some amendments or some additions as suggested by Councillor Ward, and I applaud him for putting it out there. So I am happy to move the staff recommendation, Your Worship, but I think I'm not sure where the other motion lands or if it was fully out of order or not.
Let's just get.
So I'm gonna move the staff recommendation. I believe there will be time to further discuss.
And could I get a seconder on that, please? So we can get it on. Okay,
I think we've done enough motivation. I'll yield.
Okay, thank you. Discussion of the motion that's on the floor, which is shown. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I'd like to propose an amendment. And my amendment is that the age-friendly strategy be removed, and in its place, we work towards the OCP amendment for the Triangle lands to remove the Gamble Tamarack area from the Triangle lands designation.
Make those changes, please. The amendment. Put it on the screen.
If you wouldn't just mind repeating just the end portion of it. Here it is right here.
And in its place, we would put the OCP amendment to remove the Tamarack Gamble neighborhood from the Triangle lands designation.
Get a seconder on that amendment, okay? Thank you. Councillor Jordison, do you want to motivate more?
Yeah, if I could just motivate, I just want to say that there's been considerable input from a significant number of the residents in the area. It is an OCP amendment that should be rather minimal in its impact to the future densification of Colwood, given the small neighborhood, etc. And it would give some certainty going forward as we're working to adjust our OCP in the future with the new council.
Thank you. Councillor Jordison, do you want to speak on it?
Yes, thank you. I just looking for some clarification. Are we still leaving the above on there, like the bringing forward the rezoning application? Is that still part of the motion?
Yes, correct, it is.
Okay, so my thought was hoping that Councillor Day might be open to a friendly amendment to add that staff prioritize the work for that as well as the gentle infill strategy. And I just want to remind everybody that this OCP designation, land use designation idea that came into this motion was brought forward by the planning and land use committee. And it was approved from there and it came forward there. Came to council from there. And that's how that whole thing started. Like, I think all I had was the gentle infill strategy. So it was something that was added and I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Someone gonna add that, please?
Did you want me to do it as a secondary amendment? Okay.
So, clarification, please, from staff. Now, I thought you said that that's a big venture. So i.e., if we approve this amendment, it's basically stalling out any decision that we're gonna make for until you've completed this. Is that correct?
So if this amendment passed, that would have implications on the other projects that we have recommended to initiate in 2026. If these are the two projects that you would like to prioritize, we can certainly do that. That would likely remove those other 3 projects, as we wouldn't have capacity to do all 5 of those initiatives.
So how long is this gonna take then? That's what I'm trying to get a grasp on right now.
So, as we mentioned, we provided staff recommendations of policy projects to initiate. If council would like us to conduct alternatives, we can return to council with a report on the capacity analysis. Those 2 are likely medium-sized projects, so would be like at least a year, I would say.
Councillor Jensen, on the amendment?
Thank you. I'm going to oppose both the amendment and the amendment to the amendment. It's getting awfully confusing. But also, you know, I endorse the plan that was put forward by staff for the reasons that staff advised as far as the time they have left in the year and the manpower. And I think we should remain focused and not get bogged down on a year-long project that won't certainly will live past the term of this council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grove?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think they're starting to see a ray of hope, and we were talking about the original motion and the staff coming with what we were looking for here. And the amendments have added complexity, to my mind, confusion. I don't really quite know where this is going because it ties in with Mari's discussion about the implications when we start taking individual projects and start to think about amending them out of the OCP. We do have the OCP sitting here right now, and perhaps I'm more in line with the original motion as Councillor Jansen just stated. So I don't think I can support either of the amendments.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Day, is this new?
Yeah, I need a clarification.
Yes.
Sorry, just the recommendation from staff was endorse their proposed sequencing and that direct prioritization of intensive residential development permit OCP amendment, Outlook Park management plan, age-friendly plan review. Meanwhile, we have 2 outstanding resolutions from council that have not yet been addressed. So it was my intention to try to address the 2 outstanding recommendations, which is the gentle infill strategy and the OCP for the Tamarack Gamble neighborhood. which was part of the presentation. So I'm willing to forego the work on the Outlook Park Management Plan and the age-friendly plan review in order to move forward with the recommendations that have already been made by council.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I basically was going to seek some clarity on what exactly it is that we're going to vote for because I've lost track. I think Councillor Day indicated that 2 items would be replaced by the 2 items here. And I'm confused because the so-called friendly amendment that Councillor Jordison mentioned removed the bring forward the rezoning application, but that still appears to be there. I could have lived with the initial motion that left that in to bring forward and at the same time did the OCP amendment, but I'm a little confused where we sit. And since we were quoting Robert rules, I should point out that the friendly amendment requires unanimous consent under Robert rules. So if somebody objects, you need to then put an amendment, a secondary amendment to an amendment. I'm not going to, but since we were quoting rules, that friendly amendment wasn't valid because I objected. But anyway, we're here at this point. I'm not going to slow things any further. So I would like to see the motion rewritten so that we know exactly what it is we're putting on record, particularly because this could end up in the lap of a future council. And you have all these residents that are here with uncertainty that we don't necessarily know what will happen. For now, we've heard what? Over a year. We have a developer who's invested a lot here who won't know for over a year. We're letting down every stakeholder with this decision as far as I'm concerned. So I at least know what it is or should know what it is that I'm voting on to disappoint everybody. Thank you.
Agree. Because I'm confused right now myself. Wait a second. I'm going to let Councillor Olson and I'll come back to you, Councillor Day. Councillor.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to note that I won't be supporting the amendments to the recommendation. I really struggle to support something that this council cannot see through to the end of this term. So that is why I will not be supporting the amendment to the recommendation this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I'm sorry, it's just because it doesn't all fit on the screen that I didn't realize I needed to amend what was above, but I do have in my notes to remove those 2 items of Outlook Park Management Plan, age-friendly plan review. You could simply strike them out if that might make it easier for you, for people to understand that I'm trying to work with the recommendation from staff with the information provided by staff to address the issues that are already been made in motions to our administration by this council to try to get that work over the line before our term ends and in preparation for a more fulsome OCB debate within the community that will take a long time to do. But this, I'm hoping, would have allowed both things to happen, Councillor Ward. You're able to bring forward one single project in the neighborhood under the existing OCP, and that staff return looking at an amendment so that we now know exactly what is going to happen there, and both the residents and the developer know what's going to happen, and staff is able to answer what council has already asked them to do.
So I'm still confused. Well, honestly.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I can explain
Because, you know, I got
the recommendation.
blacked out stuff on there. I got an amendment on there.
The recommendation on the floor was the initial one from staff that went right to here. The amendment is to remove these 2 items and replace them with one more down, and replace them with the OCP amendment to remove Tamarack and Gamble neighborhood and the gentle infill strategy. So those 2 items would be removed from the staff recommendation and replaced with those 2 things if the amendment is approved.
We were already, did you just say it would take a year for that to happen? So we're not being fair to anyone here. Bottom line. Okay. I'll, thanks. I'm just getting, okay, I'm gonna call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Okay, and all those opposed? Okay, that's, okay, Grove, Ward, Kobayashi, Jensen, and Olson. Okay, so let's remove all this stuff. Let's get it back to the original recommendation, which was your recommendation, staff recommendation. Did we get a seconder on that? We did, right? Okay, so let's go back to discussion on the original motion then, please. Any other discussion? Okay, Councillor Day.
I think that tempers have gotten a little high, and I'm going to make an effort to cool those tempers a little bit. I'm trying to be reasonable and support what council has already asked to be done that has not been done. And so I'm hoping that council will bring this back and consider at least just the OCP amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
So it's amusing how we've come full circle on this. So I am going to propose an amendment to the staff recommendation at the very end where it says that, and further that council directs staff to bring forward the rezoning application, yada, yada. I am going to add another sentence that says, and further that council directs staff to put a moratorium on any further applications under the current OCP until the next council term or such time as an OCP amendment has taken place. The reason I do that is twofold. This moves forward and there will be a future decision on this development, but it gives the people in the room, the people in the neighborhood and others that have very valid concerns about what, you know, is this the first domino to fall? Will there be a second building, third building, fourth building, fifth building? It gives them some assurance that that won't happen, that this doesn't move forward. Somebody reads about it in the paper, brings forward a development application 3 weeks from now for 398 Tamarack. I'm making up a number, excuse me here, but it gives them some assurance that they don't have to galvanize and write in letters and show up again at a council meeting 2 months from now, 3 months from now. It gives them some assurance that there will be time taken to do the work that, yes, in fairness, that this council directed staff to do, which we are directing to do again here in terms of pursuing an OCP renewal in 2027. But we're giving everybody time to do it right. And at the same time, giving residents and the developer some assurance that rational heads have prevailed. So you spoke about cooler heads, and I think that's the cooler head approach here. And then I'm fully prepared if someone doesn't support that and feels that we should stick with what it is and it's the OCP or nothing. I get that. I have used the OCP, as I said, as my North Star since I was elected. And I've made every decision aligned with that. This is an exception for me and I don't do it lightly, but I'm not saying let's amend it and change it right now. I'm saying let's buy some time until we know that if an amendment is required here and it's done right. And everybody walks away, I think, feeling a little bit happier about the situation, or at least if they're not happier, I won't say that, that's a stretch, they'll have some assurance at least that they're not here a week from now, 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now. That was my goal at the outset. And maybe I'm doing a slightly better job articulating it now, but that's where I'd propose this amendment to what Councillor Jansen has again put forward.
Please. Yes.
I would say bring forward. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I would say direct staff to bring forward a moratorium on development in the subject area. You can insert the actual designated area if you like. I don't have it in front of me. Tamarack area, whatever you want to call it, Tamarack Gamble area, until the next term of council or an OCP decision relevant to the area. Something along those lines. I'm not fussed on the exact verbiage. It should say on further development.
as well, sorry.
Yeah. You can get rid of that first amendment, please. It's failed.
Yeah, the amendment above it, yeah. And in terms of motivation, I think I've done enough of that. So respectfully, I will turn my mic off.
Could I get a seconder on that? Okay. Councilor Wilson. Now we'll go to discussion on the amendment. Councilor Jensen.
Thank you, Worship. I'm gonna have a tough time supporting this, and I'll tell you why. Specifically to the amendment, I'm not sure what the impact is. I'm not sure if there's, currently a application before. Like, there's no report to support this to suggest there's other applications underway, and what that means for something that's midstream, and whether we place the community into legal jeopardy. And the last thing I think we need to do is spend money defending ourselves in court. And I'm not sure if the chief administrator has any thoughts or feelings on how this may land, or whether it's perfectly within our purview, or whether we're going to need a legal opinion. I'd love to hear something.
Mr. Johnson.
So just to clarify, we have no other rezoning applications in the Tamarack neighborhood. So it is only 420 Tamarack right now. We also have had no pre-application meetings for any other properties within this neighborhood. So we would not expect to receive an application anytime soon.
Presumably 396 could come back, I'm assuming.
So they are unable to come back for a year since the time that you denied the application.
I will yield. I'm not sure if the chief administrator can offer any insight, but I find this a little, I feel like it feels like it might be a bridge too far.
Hope. Firstly, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you legal advice on that matter. But it is within council purview to look at these sorts of items and telegraph to the community what you're expecting to see in this area, given that there's an OCP review.
Thanks so much. Councilor Jordison. On the amendment.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think we should be discussing legal stuff in a council meeting. If we want to discuss that, we need to go in camera. It's my understanding. But I just want to remind everybody at this table, we all voted for this originally. We all brought this land designation OCP thing forward. It came forward from Councillor Ward and Councillor Jansen, and yeah, everybody can change their mind, but we brought this forward. This was the issue before council. And so you can change your mind, I guess, but I don't understand why everybody's acting like it's like new in front of them, that they don't know where this came from. It came from all of us and we all agreed to it. So I'm having real issues with this. I don't think we should have had a moratorium before this development came forward, because that's what we promised these residents, that we would look at this. It was a resolution of council, and so that's all I gotta say.
Thanks so much, Councilor Day, and then Councilor Ward.
Thank you. I'm not going to muddy the waters. I am comfortable that this is bringing forward a policy that's responsive to public input, that is well grounded in both residential input and council input previously. I am hopeful that it does not fetter anyone's opinion, whether they're for or against the particular development. It simply is explaining that we're hitting pause on further applications coming forward, and otherwise it is 100% following the staff recommendation going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Ward.
Yeah, just a quick point of reference. The council motion to direct this to staff for an OCP update was supported by all members who voted on it that day, which were 5 members of council. 2 were not present. Although when a motion is put forward, all of council stands behind it. I wasn't there though, and neither was Councillor Jansen. So I don't think it's out of order when you say we're acting like we pretend we don't know it came from. We weren't there at that meeting. I'm certainly aware of it, so I'm not pretending anything, but I'm suggesting that this is the best way forward, and that's why I've authored this motion here. I would also state that there are no legal implications to deny a zoning application that complies with the OCP. That is a legal statement. We can say that in this meeting. We also know, as we've heard from staff, that there are no in-stream applications beyond the application at 420. So we're moving forward 420. We're stopping everything else, which is 100% within the powers of this council. There is no legal ramification. The only person we're going to hear from on this in a very negative way is probably going to be the housing minister, who would like to see us densify this neighborhood to 15 stories on every lot. But I can live with that one because I'm not a big fan. Thank you.
I'm good at writing letters anyways. Councillor Jordison.
I mean, I'm just gonna read it. That the Planning and Land Use Committee recommend to council, and it says here that Colwood, this whole bylaw, the amendment to Tamarack, be considered for first, second, and third reading pending a review to council as to the appropriateness of the official community plan OCP center designation, and then a bunch of other things. And that was carried and it was moved by Councillor Ward and carried by the Land Use Committee. So that's why we were even discussing this. So we all agreed to it at one point. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other hands, I am going to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? Let it be shown that Councillor Jordison is the nay on that, please. Okay, let's go back to the original motion as amended. We got the motion. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Oh, sorry, Councillor Day.
Sorry, I just have to add that this is the best I can make out of it. But I am not impressed that we are moving forward with initiatives of such low value at a time where we have time to do things that are of higher value. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. I'll call the question. All those in favor to the motion as amended? Any opposed? Councillor Jordison. Motion carries. Okay, let's move on to bylaws. 8.1. Corporate officer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is Colwood Land Use Bylaw 151, 1989, Amendment number 224, 221 Goldfinch Road. There is a motion to abandon that one and to give the new one, Colwood Land Use Bylaw 151, 1989, Amendment number 233, CD 45, 221 Goldfinch Road. Bylaw 2018 for first, second, and third reading, and Matt's available for a presentation should council wish to receive one.
Okay, please. I haven't seen this yet, so.
Okay. Oh. Thank you, Mayor and Council. While Mari's loading up, I'll just do my preamble. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide a high-level summary of the rezoning application number RZ000025 for the property located at 221 Goldfinch Road. There's more detailed analysis and supporting information provided in the staff report. So a little bit about the site. The subject property is located in the Lagoon Beach neighborhood near Lagoon Road. It's currently zoned R1 residential and is within the OCP land use designation neighborhood, hillside, and shoreline. The property features a continuous corner frontage along Goldfinch Road and has an area of 0.31 acres. The property currently contains an existing single-family residential dwelling. In terms of surrounding context, the broader neighborhood is also primarily R1 residential. Development is mainly single-family homes, both freehold and strata, with some two-family dwellings nearby. So the proposed amendment intends to rezone the property from R1 to Comprehensive Development 45 zone to permit 2 duplexes with secondary suites on the subject property. So this new amending bylaw, as Marcy mentioned, is intended to replace the initial bylaw that was given 3 readings by council on July 14th, 2025. That bylaw is Colwood Land Use Bylaw number 151, 1989, amendment number 224, 2021, 221 Goldfinch Road, bylaw number 2073, 2025. So the new proposed amendment introduces a new site-specific zone, CD 45, rather than proceeding with the previously proposed RM7 zone. It's important to note that the proposed development remains generally unchanged in terms of use, unit types and sizes, and form and character from what council previously saw back in 2025. However, during the development permit drawing review, staff identified several variances that were required due to the property's unique shape and some obsolete requirements in the RM7 zone. So from a planning perspective, it's not considered best practice to apply a standard zone to a single property and concurrently rely on variances to achieve the intended development form, as this may undermine the integrity of the zoning bylaw. Accordingly, staff recommend the use of a site-specific zone that better reflects the proposed development and provides a transparent and more consistent approach for council and the community. Also, for transparency, I've included just the some of the development permit drawings to show you the form and character of the proposal. So this is one of the duplex units, and this would be the second. So as I mentioned, the subject property falls within the neighborhood hillside and shoreline land use designation, which envisions ground-oriented developments such as duplexes and townhouses. It emphasizes maintaining the character and scale of the existing neighborhood while enabling gentle infill that provides greater housing choice for diverse household needs. Recognizing this is a little small, but this slide here is a zone comparison showing the proposed CD 45 zone next to the RM7 zone. So essentially they're achieving very similar things, but there are several minor refinements that better reflect the proposed development, site context, and current bylaw framework. So these changes include a reduction in maximum height from 15 meters to 12 meters, a decrease in the rear yard setback from 6 meters to 5 meters, an increase in the exterior side yard setback from 3 meters to 4 meters, and an increase in the minimum usable open space requirement from 10% to 15%. The CD 45 zone also removes outdated landscaping requirements that are now addressed through the city's subdivision servicing bylaw. So staff support the rezoning of 221 Goldfinch Road as it is consistent with the official community plan, enhances housing diversity, and aligns with the requirements of the proposed CD 45 zone. 2-meter municipal road dedication is required along the frontage of the development to achieve the overall 18-meter right-of-way width along the subject property frontage. This dedication is required in advance of council considering the amending bylaw for adoption. I've recently heard from the applicant that they have moved forward with getting signatures for this, so the process is underway. Staff are also recommending that council consider the driveway variance at the same time as the adoption of the amending bylaw. The variance pertains specifically to subdivision and development servicing bylaw number 2000-2024 and it is not related to the proposed use or zoning regulations for the subject property. Considering these items together helps resolve all key bylaw matters efficiently and provides greater clarity and certainty for the project. If council supports this approach, staff will bring forward a separate report outlining the driveway variance request and the rationale for considering it concurrently with the amending bylaw. In terms of notification, a development sign has been placed on the property, and postcards outlining the new amending bylaw were mailed to neighbors within 100 meters of the property. And the notice was also advertised in the newspaper and posted on the city's website prior to council's consideration of the amending bylaw readings this evening. These are a few of the suggested options for council to consider. And I'll just quickly flip over to the staff recommendation, which is quite long, so I won't read it, but I will leave it on the screen for your consideration. If necessary, the applicant hopefully is still here this evening to answer any questions. And if council has any questions for staff, I'm also available to respond. Thank you.
Questions? Councillor Day.
Thank you. I noticed that the FAR on this one is 1.2, so it is very similar to the existing recommendations for even the existing zoning within the OCP. What I didn't quite get an understanding for is I realized that the driveway amendment is to provide for parking. Is it anticipated that there will also be parking on the street, or is the parking strictly going to be limited to the driveways?
Thank you for the question through the chair. In terms of sorry, I'm just going through the report here. The actual FAR in the zone is proposed at 1.2, but the proposed developments FAR is actually 0.85. So it's lower than what the maximum would be. So it's well within that range. In terms of parking, the driveway widths are larger to accommodate the extra parking spaces that are required for the secondary suites. In terms of how the actual road cross section would work with on-street parking, I might flip that over to engineering, but I don't anticipate, given the size of the driveways, them needing to use off-street parking because they are quite wide driveways, and just looking at the images, they can easily accommodate 3 or 4 cars, and they have garage built into each individual duplex as well. So there's substantial parking available on site.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks very much for the report there,
Oh,
Matt.
the engineering had a response.
Let's go. Okay.
If you want it, your worship, through the chair. The on-street parking for an 18-meter cross section, I don't believe we have scallop parking detailed there. I was just trying to pull it up right now. But that cross section and that right of way hasn't been formalized as of now. With the driveways they're proposing, there wouldn't be sufficient space on their frontage for scallop parking. We could look at it on the other side in the neighborhood in the coming years, but there are no capital projects to formalize that cross section.
Awesome. Thank you. I'd like to reserve the option for you to come back to me when you're ready for a motion.
Any other questions for Matt? Okay. Go back to you then. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I'd like to move the staff recommendation.
Okay, seconder. Thank you, Councillor Grove. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. We'll move on to the next one. Corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Colwood Land Use Bylaw number 151, 1989, amendment number 227. I'll just say SSMUH. Bylaw number 2091, 2026, first, second, and third readings.
Questions? Councillor Jordison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had questions. The last development that we just approved, I thought was done really well, and it stayed within the parameters of the FAR or in the OCP. And I'm just wondering, I'd actually like this bylaw to adhere to the OCP and not be at 1.5, 1.8 or whatever, and to be closer to the OCP. If we're all talking tonight about adhering to the OCP, like I think it's the massing that I have a concern with this bylaw in the neighborhoods. And I'm just wondering, I guess, why it's different. Why are we not staying with what the OCP says and increasing? Because I know we're not using the FAR, but it equates to around 1.5.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So obviously SMU is mandated by the province for us to do. They've provided us with some regulations for us to consider. We have gone beyond some of those regulations, but if council is feeling uncomfortable with us not having an FAR within Schedule C, we can certainly add it. A 1.2 would be appropriate because generally the SMU properties are within the neighborhood designation, which supports an FAR of 1.2, similar to what you were just referring to as the Goldfinch application within the neighborhood designation. So we can certainly add that to the bylaw. The province was just suggesting to not have too many regulations to restrict the development of small scale multi-unit housing. Obviously we have lot coverage and setbacks, but you can certainly add an FAR to have another control of density. I would say that they are also restricted to 3, 4, or 6 units. It's not just the lot coverage and the setbacks. Like there is a density cap as well. But if you would feel more comfortable about adding an FAR, we can certainly do that.
I just had another question. Are we, where did I go? Sorry. Is this the SMU designation for housing? Is that not to address the middle housing?
Missing middle it's a term that can be used for many different types of housing forms, like infill, SMU, and townhomes is generally what it is referring to. Essentially, the middle in between single family and multifamily.
I just think that the larger they're built, without keeping the parameters of the FAR in the OCP, the more expensive and unobtainable they are for residents. So that's my other concern with. So I'd like to make a motion to have that added in there to change the FAR or to go to the FAR at 1.2 or within reason of the OCP when I'm able to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll come back to you for an amendment. Councillor Day and then Councillor Ward.
Councillor Ward should go first, sorry.
Oh, so did we already give you a turn?
I did,
Oh,
yeah.
sir, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo a little bit what Councillor Jordison is saying. My concern, if you recall, at the last meeting when we spoke about this through the chair, sorry, to Mairi, I'd asked, what's the absolute minimum we have to do? Because I have real concerns about what's occurred in other municipalities where they stretched it and you see these massive monstrosities dropped in between existing homes. That was an issue that was raised for me a lot in 2022 when I went door to door in a lot of places talking to people. They were happy with the OCP and with development aligned with transit corridors and brownfield sites like Royal Bay and Beachlands and things, but a lot of single family homeowners had concerns that, you know, their neighbor could sell the property and all of a sudden a sixplex gets slapped in that goes right to the street edge and blocks their views on, you know, and is bumping up against them on either side. And I just question why we are going above and beyond on it. And perhaps it's a philosophical thing. Staff, I can appreciate that's where the guidance from the province was. Other councillors may feel we should do that. But I look at communities like Oak Bay, for example, which is probably the most restrictive on this housing form, where sure you can build, you know, a fourplex on a single family home lot, but it's going to resemble the existing homes that are there. And I know we're protected in some ways, or some of these folks that are concerned are protected because they're on septic. But those on sewers, you know, if you're in the lagoon area, for example, and you've got an ocean view and you're on sewer, you know, you might decide you want to drop in one of these 4-unit buildings or 6-unit buildings. I think we need to look at increased setbacks on this. I think we need a height restriction. You know, I think no more than 11 meters overall. The other thing I found interesting is we have 50%, 50%, and 60% lot coverage. And, you know, in Oak Bay, for example, it's capped at 30%. Now, 30% might be a little bit low, but I might suggest, you know, 35, 45% is a little bit more reasonable. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board on this. And this is just me. Again, this is my opinion. I've been very clear that I don't support the province on this. I think I report to our residents, not to the provincial government, and our residents don't want to see, you know, monstrosities dropped in, bumping up against their home. That's something that people were really concerned against or concerned about when I spoke to them. So I'd like to see us scale this back. Certainly, maybe not do the bare minimum like Oak Bay and West Vancouver. We're not the same, but we don't need to be the leaders on this either. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Agree with you on that. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring you back to when we were looking at this on the 11th, we received a letter from Deborah Law regarding SMUH, and that was exactly the concern that was raised. I'll just quote you one sentence. As council, the real question you should be asking is how large do you need to allow the SMUH built form to be to enable the required number of dwelling units? And I think that is important. It is very difficult to, in existing neighborhoods, whether new or old, new forms being put into the middle of a community or even on the edge can have very big consequences for the existing residences there. So I think that building, including FAR of not more than 1.2 would be helpful. Because it keeps the buildings small. And when the buildings are kept small, the outdoor space for play space for kids, for example, which many people think, you know, a neighborhood park is enough. Sometimes it's very nice to have your own safe space for kids to play in. And I think that's really important and missing for kids. So I was willing to amend what we have in front of us here today, but perhaps it would be better, as Councillor Ward has suggested, to come back with a more comprehensive review, looking at how to make it as unobtrusive as possible, still allow people places to live in neighborhoods where they want to be, but keep it from overshadowing the existing neighborhood.
Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Worship. I think we're going to beat this one up quite a bit. I'd move to refer it back to staff. I think they've heard the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Thank you. Grove. Discussion. Call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on.
Worship, if I can just add quickly, and it's not germane to the debate, but somewhat is, there is a deadline to have this adopted by June 30th. So we'd be bringing this back to council on June 22nd with what those amendments look like. Yep. We likely wouldn't meet the deadline of June 30th, but we could have that as looking at that our first meeting in July and just tell the province we're underway.
Okay. Next, please.
Thank you. We have off-street parking regulation bylaw number 1909-3, SSMUH, first, second, and third reading.
Yep. Motion, please. Thank you. Jensen and Olson. Discussion. Seeing none, call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay. Next 8.4.
Public notice bylaw number 2117, 2026 for first, second, and third reading.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this one? Okay, Councillor Jensen moved it, seconder. Okay, I just want to get it on. Okay, you seconded, is that, did I hear Grove? Okay, thank you. And, discussion, Councillor D.
Thank you. Just given that this is moving our notification majorly to our website, I'm concerned that we don't have any action yet or even a motion on updates to our website, which is not currently functioning well and has been the subject of um, a couple of letters to council, as well as I have tried to bring forward a notice of motion. So I'm just wondering if we bring this forward tonight and we don't have any assurity of access and functionality for our website, what happens in terms of public notification? Are we going to continue with some newspaper notification until such time as the website is up and operating appropriately?
Staff?
Hi, thanks for the question. Yeah, staff would ensure that we were getting to the public currently. When there's a news item that goes out as a news item on the website, comms can see that that is actually getting traction quite a bit. The secondary method currently that staff are suggesting is social media, which is also showing to get quite a bit of traction. And in the interim, I believe staff's intention is to continue using the Colwood Corners and the Gazette, the paid service that we currently do once a month, but we wouldn't use that as our legislative obligation. But until the community really started to understand how we've kind of changed our ways. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes perfect sense. I think I can live with that, but I just want to put a pin in that I have real concerns about the functionality of our website.
I have a question for you also. So stay there. So, what are the provisions right now for, what provisions are you going to put in place for residents that don't have access to computers, that are not, on social media or whatever? So how are we going to handle that?
Currently, we do double up because we have that Colwood's Corners.
Yes.
So we can make it look a little bit more appealing for residents, as my thought, because it doesn't need all of the legislative jargon. It can actually just read in common language.
Sorry, I missed something there.
In our Colwood Corners,
Yes.
the Gazette, currently we do a monthly communications
Yeah.
does that.
I see.
So we could, instead of putting all of the RZ
Fair-
00.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. And now we move to notices of motion. We have 3 notices of motion. The first one's from Councillor Day, and the next 2 are Councillor Ward. If I could just get you to read your motions, please, and they'll be discussed at the next council meeting. Oh, sorry, Councillor Day.
All getting tired here. My notice of motion is that council direct the chief administrative officer to treat the City of Colwood website as core governance infrastructure by, number 1, restoring a staff directory, including names, titles, direct line contacts, and emails in a manner consistent with privacy and security best practices. 2, that we establish governance ownership by assigning the website responsibility to a named position with defined maintenance standards, content review obligations, and accountability to council. Number 3, improve the information architecture by directing the position responsible to implement the following within 90 days. A, consolidate bylaws into a current, searchable, and prominently accessible location. B, locate the org chart to the governance section of the site. C, enhance the development tracker to include application status, site details, proponents, and timelines. D, implement a task-based navigation improvement to increase discoverability of governance content. E, correction of broken or outdated links, remediation of the search function deficiencies as identified by council to members of the public, including the March 12th submission from the Royal Bay Homeowners Association. 4, establish a council decisions tracker, including which department is responding, status, and anticipated dates for reporting back to council on the initiative on design and the timeline for the work within 60 days. And can you slide it up a little? Thank you. Report back to council within 30 days with a report and an implementation plan, including timelines for the full set of website improvements.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Ward.
First is a notice of motion for investigation of speed control measures for Kelly Road Playground Zone. Whereas Kelly Road contains a designated playground zone with significant pedestrian activity, including children and families accessing nearby recreational amenities. And whereas concerns have been raised regarding vehicle speeds within and approaching the playground zone. And whereas a range of conventional and emerging traffic calming technologies exist that may improve compliance with posted speed limits and enhance pedestrian safety. Therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to investigate and report back on the feasibility, effectiveness, regulatory considerations, and estimated capital and operating costs associated with implementing speed control improvements within the Kelly Road Playground Zone. And further, that the review include, but not be limited to, consideration of A, speed ditches or inverted speed humps consisting of concave roadway depressions that require vehicles to descend and ascend when crossing, thereby encouraging lower travel speeds. B, active bump or active dynamic speed control systems whereby a radar-equipped roadway plate remains level for vehicles traveling at or below the posted speed limit, but lowers for speeding vehicles, creating a noticeable vertical deflection. C, raised crosswalks, protection, speed humps, speed cushions, and other conventional traffic calming measures. D, enhanced signage, flashing beacons, speed feedback displays, and other speed awareness technologies. And E, any additional engineering measures staff deem appropriate to improve compliance with the posted speed limit and enhance pedestrian safety. And further, that staff report on the suitability of the Kelly Road Playground Zone as a pilot project location for the testing and evaluation of innovative traffic calming technologies not commonly used in British Columbia, including active bump style, active dynamic speed control systems, and other emerging approaches designed to improve compliance with posted speed limits. And further, that staff identify any legal, operational, accessibility, maintenance, emergency response, transit, cycling, insurance, procurement, or liability implications associated with the measures reviewed, including whether approvals from external agencies would be required and whether grant or partnership funding opportunities may be available to support implementation. That's number one. Number two, notice of motion hardscaping of select traffic circles and majority of cul-de-sac islands to reduce maintenance costs and improve streetscape condition. Whereas the city of Colwood maintains a number of traffic circles and cul-de-sac central islands that form part of the municipal road network and neighborhood streetscape. And whereas many of these landscape features require ongoing maintenance, including mowing, irrigation, plant replacement, weed control, and seasonal upkeep, which contributes to recurring operational costs and staff time. And whereas in several locations, current landscaping conditions have deteriorated or are inconsistently maintained, negatively impacting the visual quality and overall appearance of neighborhood streetscapes. And whereas hardscaped or low maintenance design treatments such as decorative rock, permeable paving, or durable architectural materials may offer reduced life cycle maintenance requirements, improved durability, and more consistent visual presentation over time. Therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to investigate and report back on the feasibility, costs, and implications of converting existing traffic circles and cul-de-sac central islands within the city of Colwood to hardscaped or low maintenance design standards where appropriate. And further, that the staff report include an inventory of all city maintained traffic circles and cul-de-sac central islands. 2, an assessment of current maintenance requirements, associated costs, and known maintenance challenges. 3, identification of locations where existing landscaping is in poor condition or repeatedly requires remediation. 4, a life cycle cost comparison between current landscaping approaches and hardscaped or low maintenance alternatives. 5, potential pilot locations where conversion could be tested. And 6, consideration of design standards, drainage impacts, and safety requirements.
Thank you very much. And on that note, there being no other further business, I will